Live streaming, starting it on my YouTube channel for Stop In or Drop In, New Paradigm Institute. Super excited to see what happens. Oh, medicine. Medicine is life today. Literally been the only thing keeping me alive. Being sick uber sucks. I'll tell you that much right now. Is this pride? No. Cough drops are life. Okay? 100%. How's everybody doing? Thank you so much for following me over here. Just about to get started with our actual live stream, so I'm excited to see what happens. The information that comes out of this should be very good. Let me know in the chat if we have good quality too. Let me see. Hello, chat. Thank you for making it over here. I appreciate you guys. Sorry, I'm sucking on some cough drops. Such is life today. Oh, we'll see how this goes. I'm super excited. How's the audio, number one? Because we're doing this on a different, it's different over here. And is it clear and clean for you to see right now, or is it kind of choppy? I'm curious. YouTube is a different streaming setup. So let me know in the comment section. And where are you guys from, too? You guys from what state? Super curious on that. Oh my goodness. This cold has been kicking my butt. Currently, we're waiting, along with 839 other people, to check out Global Disclosure Day. Super excited to see what happens. Good. I'm glad. Thank you very much. Yeah, super excited to see how this plays out and what kind of information we learned today. Jersey, huh? Nice, nice. I've only been over to Jersey one time. It's for a wedding, and it was actually right after a hurricane. Quite scary. I've never ever really dealt with hurricanes before in my life, so It was very interesting. But Jersey was extremely pretty. I went to, I don't know what beach it was. It was like boardwalk or like Jersey Shore area. Pretty cool though. Couple more minutes. We have 906 people waiting to watch Global Disclosure with us and see what happens. I know Ross Coulhart's going to be hosting today, along with quite a few other people. Like, I think there's upwards to like 15 or 16 people that are like known names, and then there's a whole host of other people. So we have 2 hours to dive into this. And unfortunately, it's not a super nice stream setup. I'm a little bit sad. I tried to get into that. I had it originally planned. Yesterday, I had to go into the hospital and get checked out for my cold situation. And by the time I got home, come to find out, like, you're supposed to like report that, like, for your first live stream, you're supposed to report like 24 hours in advance. So it's like, bitch. So now we're here currently. But yeah, we'll figure it out. So thank you guys so much for joining me. Are you excited for UFO disclosure? And do you think we're gonna get full disclosure? I'm curious. Um, Maybe this is the first global disclosure day out of many. They did say it was going to be rolling into next year, which I'm really interested to see. I'm interested to see what that means. Um, Again, we do know that they're going to have a hearing November 13th. 13th. I think that's a false date. And the reason I think that is because they have, like, I think they don't want the government to come in and scare the people that they have talking during that hearing. So they have it as a float day. And I'm guessing that day is probably going to change, but they're having it as a float day currently. So that way they can't pinpoint who's going to be taking that day off from work or whatever to kind of narrow in their search. So I'm really interested. Oh, minutes away. Minutes away. They're almost up to 1,000. It's interesting. This was like announced maybe a month ago. And since then, every single day on their channel, they've been dropping new videos, and they dropped a lot of videos. So they've been pushing. I don't think that they've gotten the reaction that they wanted to get when it comes to like the amount of people. Okay, they've hit 1,000. But I'm really interested to see. It's so weird. I follow a lot of UFO conspiracy theorists online, and like none of them have actually been talking specifically about this, like at all. Um, what's his name? Vedit. He does it every single day, and I never seen him really mention New Paradigm Institute's Disclosure Day. Um, and then I watch Down to Earth with Christian Harloff, and he has not mentioned this either. So it's like, it's interesting that this is such a big thing, but yet nobody's talking about it. So glad you're here. Um, yeah, it does suck that I have to be on this station or channel. I would rather do it on TikTok, but yet again, TikTok has been screwing me over, so we're not playing that game. Oh, yep. I'm interested to see how she goes down. So Jersey, have you ever seen a UFO? I'm curious. You have UFO stories? Let me know in the chat. And make sure that when we do reach this, that this starts. It should be any second. You do actually have one, huh? That's interesting. Did you see it in Jersey or was it somewhere else? I've seen one that I could truly say it for sure with my brother. Man, probably in 2019, I think. Otherwise, I have like 3 other stories, but UFO for sure with my brother. We actually got video footage of it. Come on. YOLO. Let them think you're crazy. Let them think you're crazy. That's, to me, that's just mind blowing. That, I mean, at this point, we have them talking in Congress. We have them talking in like White House, and we have Navy, Air Force pilots who have come out and said this kind of stuff. So like, you know, I don't know. My parents still like, they're like, oh yeah, no, yeah, no. My mom, she kind of was a believer of it, but my dad, he's like not a believer, and I'm like, bro, yeah, they're real. So yeah, I'm very interested to see what kind of information gets dropped today. I'm excited. Come on, start our live. They're late. I have done this before where I've tried to watch a stream and like I've left it on there and it will not like pop up, so we'll wait and see what happens. Oh my goodness. We'll get there eventually, Jersey. Oh. I just want to be over this being sick thing. Let me tell you that right now. Currently refreshing, waiting for this to happen. Come on. They must be having streaming issues. Here we go.
Only planted life upon this, our shabby little world. There are other worlds besides ours. There are other worlds beside our Mother Earth, upon which life exists.
Throughout the oral traditions of cultures around the globe, stories have been told of encounters with celestial beings, beings whose presence shaped the spiritual and cosmic understanding of humanity.
I'm excited.
These ancient narratives have woven a deep connection between our ancestors and the greater universe, reminding us that we are part of something far larger than ourselves. Yet, in our modern age, we have forgotten this essential part of our collective story, the knowledge that we are not alone in the universe, part of a vast, intelligent, and technologically advanced cosmic community, has been obscured by deliberate secrecy and systematic cover-ups. But now, the time has come to break the silence and reveal the truth.
Ryan Graves.
this pivotal moment, humanity is rising together to demand truth, transparency, and accountability. As governments and whistleblowers release unprecedented information on
That was such a
unidentified
historic
anomalous
day. Like
phenomena
literally, when you
and
think about
non-human
it,
intelligence,
they came out
we stand on the brink
on
of a new
oath and
understanding of
swore
our
up and
place in the
down
cosmos.
there was UFOs,
The
and that was
revelations
from
that
a
lay before
highly,
us
highly decorated
in
air
addressing the crises we face as a global
person.
society, guiding us toward a future of peace, prosperity, and abundance. Welcome to the inaugural Global Disclosure Day presented by the New Paradigm Institute. A day to unite,
I'm excited.
rediscover, and move together.
This is big for us UFO nerds. I feel like somebody should take a picture of that. That might be interesting. Somebody want to do that for me? Because currently I cannot. See what the heck happens.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Garrison. I want to welcome you to this extraordinary Global Disclosure Day as people from all over the world come together to celebrate the advent of humanity's cosmic moment. I'm the director of the Washington office of the New Paradigm Institute. We have been preparing this day for only 5 weeks, but somehow everything took off in unexpected ways. And as of just a few minutes ago, there are over 3,000 people, 3,150 exactly, who signed up to convene watch parties literally all over the world.
Thanks for joining.
We're also being live streamed on Reddit and other channels to millions of people who are interested in the UFO, UAP phenomenon. We're streaming on Facebook and YouTube. So wherever you are, welcome.
Thanks for
This
being a part of this,
historic
you guys. This is so
day.
fun.
And this historic broadcast. We're convening on October 20th, 2024. This is the day designated by the legislation that was passed by the US Congress in December of last year, signed into law by the president on December 22nd, 2023, which stated for the first time in history that technologies of unknown origin, non-human technologies, and non-human intelligences exist, and mandated all government agencies and contracting corporations to begin the process by October 20th to turn over all the evidence that they've accumulated since 1945 about UFOs, now called UAP, unidentified anomalous phenomena, including NHI, non-human intelligence, called biologics. However these are named, humanity is now entering into the most important event in the entire history of our kind. The realization that we are not alone.
So wild. So
That
wild.
civilizations far more advanced than we are, not only from other quadrants of the galaxy, but from other dimensions of time and space, are here on our planet. And the great task of our generation, the great challenge for humanity, ourselves, is to seize this moment, to transform the way that we're interacting with each other and the way that we're interacting with the larger environment, and take our place in the cosmic web of life.
That's interesting. I was
Over
wondering
the
why they
next
brought this up in the first place.
2 hours, we are going to traverse the globe. We're going to be hearing from people on all continents, with a few exceptions like Antarctica,
I wanna-
who are joining
I wanna
together
know
at this
Antarctica.
moment in whatever way that they are discerning is important to them, given their country, their culture, their language, to support the momentum toward disclosure. Because we've now come to that moment where understanding that we are not alone is now the context for everything that we know to be human. And the transformation that this awareness is going to catalyze is why we're here.
We're really living in
Because
some
all
interesting
our actions
times.
together will help shape the entry of disclosure into human history. So thank you, everyone. Before we commence our program, I would like to invite Sarah Nelson, who's the executive director of the New Paradigm Institute and a very old friend going back nearly 50 years. Sarah and I and her husband and partner Danny, who
Thank
I'll
you for being here
introduce
with us, you guys.
presently, have had many adventures together, many projects that we've done together, and now we're embarking together on arguably the most important thing that we've ever done, and that is through the New Paradigm Institute to really do what we can to build a global coalition and a global movement for disclosure. So Sarah, welcome.
Can you guys hear okay? Let me know in the chat.
Hi. Thank you, Jim. Hello, everybody. Thank you. You're all kindred souls. We're all kindred souls. And we've come together to do something historic and build a great movement that will be fighting for truth and working on transparency so that people all over the world will finally find out what the truth is about the UFO and extraterrestrial presence on planet Earth. And finding this out right now is very important because this information could help us with the major existential threats that we face as humanity today. The threat of nuclear war, climate change, pollution on our planet, and the destruction of our biosystem, and the possibility of stopping all these endless wars against one another and coming together as humanity, becoming galactic citizens and interacting with other intelligent beings who are in our galaxy and on our planet.
I'm so ready for
This
this.
is a sacred journey, and Danny and
Exactly.
Jim and
It's time.
I
Someone
have
says,
been
yes, it's time we
in
won.
many
It's time to
campaigns
stop
over
fighting.
the last 50 years, national and global. Danny and I were the Christic Institute and now the Romero Institute, which is the nonprofit that has spawned the New Paradigm Institute. And Jim was the head of the State of the World Forum with Gorbachev, which was a huge global movement of dialogue and creative thinking on how to solve the most important problems facing humanity. And so we have a lot of experience that we want to share with people, and they include what we're actually doing now. We're bringing every tool we've ever learned into this effort, and we're engaged in professional investigations with our allies. We're developing cutting-edge policy to protect whistleblowers. We're developing litigation that can effectively begin to force disclosure. We are generating pressure on elected bipartisan leaders in the Congress with our Citizens for Disclosure movement. We're engaged in a widespread social media and communications campaign. We're providing the first academic courses in ET studies, and we're building a grassroots movement of Citizens for Disclosure citizens in 43 states who are educating and activating their local communities, and they will eventually be in all 435 congressional districts. And we're assembling an alliance of organizations into an alliance for disclosure of both national and international organizations who will inform their networks about what's unfolding and what the truth is, and bring light into this 80-year cover-up secret.
Someone
that has
just said
kept
in
us
the
all
chat,
from knowing information.
this is what Dr. Greer
that
said.
could help us end nuclear war, address climate change, have new clean energy sources, and begin operating and thinking and working together in a spirit of love, respect, community collaboration all over the planet, the celebration of our skills and our creativity and our thinking, going into transparency and truth, that could help us together build a positive future for humanity and all of our children. Thank you so much for stepping onto the stage right now and becoming a member, hopefully, of the Citizens for Disclosure movement, a leader where you are, a supporter of this effort. And we will share with you all the information that comes from our investigations and our work here in the Congress and throughout the country. And you will share with us, and we will become a collaborative force for truth and a force for a positive future for all of us. Thank you.
This is so wild to think. This is literally, I mean, when this comes to light, this stuff's literally changing the world as we
Thank you,
know
Sarah.
it, and we get to be a
Thank you
part
very
of that.
much. I want to now commence the program with someone who is well known to all of you, Lou Elizondo. If there's a person of the hour, it's Lou Elizondo. His book, Imminent, is on the New York Times bestseller list. He gained fame back in 2017 when, as the director of the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program in the Pentagon, he resigned to protest the lack of transparency and the lack of disclosure among people who he knew the truth about the UFO UAP domain. The information was taken to the New York Times, and many people demarcate December 16th, 2017, when the New York Times, in a front page article, basically stated that the US government and the military knew that this phenomenon was real, and there was extensive information, including videos that were released to the public domain. And Lou Elizondo since then has been working really tirelessly around disclosure. And
been doing
he
a
is
lot.
now becoming an icon. And I would just say before he comes on that, you know, it was Martin Luther King that said that the arc of the universe bends toward justice. Now, that's true, but it only does so when, through our actions and our spoken word, we help it to do so. And the integrity that Lou Elizondo has shown around this issue is really the mark of an authentic individual whose clarity and determination is assisting the arc to bend toward disclosure. So it's appropriate that he begins our program on Global Disclosure Day. Lou?
Greetings, friends, and thank you all for being here with us today as we push for greater transparency and ultimate disclosure on the topic
He's
of
reading a
UAPs
script.
or UFOs. First, please accept my apology for Jennifer and I not being with you in person today. Unfortunately, circumstances beyond my control have prevented me from being with you, but please know that I am indeed with you in spirit. Secondly,
Right here with
please
all of
allow me
us.
to thank specifically the heroic efforts of Danny Sheehan, his wife Sarah, Jim Garrison, and the rest of the New Paradigm Institute, or NPI, for this incredible
Love you, Lou.
opportunity to create a grassroots effort that is becoming quite possibly a world-class group of citizens and a call to action on a global scale. Over the last several years, we have seen major progress in the way of government disclosure. We have seen the creation of a U.S. government investigatory body, who I personally had the chance to speak with. We have historic UAP language that has already been signed, and certainly more on the way. We've had congressional hearings on the matter by both senior executives and even whistleblowers. And we have mainstream media coverage on this important topic like never before.
Mhm.
All this in only 7 years, and all this because of you. So take a moment, pat yourselves on the back, and be proud. But only
Good
for a
job,
minute,
guys.
because there's still much work needs to be done, and we can't achieve success without your help and without your efforts. Like many other worthy causes before, where the people's voice is finally being heard, civil rights, gender equality, and government accountability, to name a few. We now find ourselves once again in the trenches of the bureaucratic warfare against a mighty adversary that we call corruption. Not corruption like you might think, but a far less obvious form of corruption. One where the individuals controlling a narrative have made the unilateral decision not to inform Congress or even the president of the reality that our nation has been keeping secret from us. A truth that no organization, no institution, and no government has the right to conceal. The truth that we are not alone in the universe, and that we have been visited by a non-human intelligent species for some time.
Finally.
Now, many of you may take this revelation as not necessarily a big deal, but for my generation, this fact was once considered dangerous knowledge. So dangerous, in fact, to our social fabric of norms that our government decided it was best to obfuscate and stigmatize the topic to a point no serious scientific inquiry would be or could be initiated. But times are changing, thanks to NPI and other similar organizations, to help remove the veil of stigma and begin honest inquiry. It seems almost on a daily basis, we have new UAP incidents involving our brave men and women in uniform. We have interactions off the coast of our country and even over our sensitive military installations. Simply put, the time has now come. Forgive me. I did write this down because I wanted to get it correct. The time has now come, given the crescendo of recent events and incidents, to be honest with the American people and the world. Friends, in closing, I ask that you please support Danny and his friends as they work tirelessly to wrench out of the dark recesses of government the truth about UAPs and help bring forth the truth for all of humanity. Truly and deeply thank you, and God bless all of you. Hope to see you soon.
We're living in some wild times, though. Like, to think that this is happening and we're living in.
Thank you, Lou. Lou was on his way to yet another book signing party, but he very generously provided that short video. We want to now honor another figure in contemporary history that is doing an extraordinary task in bringing disclosure into the mainstream. And that's the journalist Ross Coulthard.
This guy
Ross,
has been
more than
everywhere.
any other journalist, at least that I know about, has really brought disclosure and the facts about UAP into mainstream media. His book, In Plain Sight, was a bestseller, and
Yeah, me too.
he is currently in the United States shooting on location, but very generously provided this video for us to be able to include him as we commemorate Global Disclosure Day.
Hello, Ross Coulthard here. So why does Global Disclosure Day matter? Is it really going to achieve anything? Well, I think it can. There's a great William Shakespeare quote. There is a tide in the affairs of men, which taken at the flood leads to fortune. And essentially, he was pointing to the idea at different times in history, there is a certain momentum that develops on an issue. And I think that time is now on the UAP issue.
Mm-hmm.
They managed to stymie the UAP legislation in 2023 when they cut out the key Presidential Records Review Panel installation, which would have allowed for a much greater degree of review of classified UAP records. And as we know, there's a lot of pessimism at the moment inside the Congress about the chances of being
Thanks
able
for
to
joining
get
me,
any
guys.
kind of disclosure legislation through the House by the end of this year. So what do we do? Do we all just throw our hands up in the air and wait for another disclosure initiative to happen in another 10, 20, 30 years? Because frankly, that's what I think is going to happen. If this issue doesn't take advantage of the momentum that currently exists, that I know is there, it's going to die on the vine.
It's going to take all of
I don't
us.
think really Kamala Harris or Donald Trump are willing to stick their necks out against the national security establishment to take a lead on the UAP issue unless you, the American voter, tells them that it matters.
Mm-hmm.
So why does it matter? It matters because it's real. One thing I can tell you incontrovertibly, and I can tell you journalists rarely do this, we're really 100% sure about anything. You're always checking back with your sources. But in this case, I am very, very sure now that there is recovered non-human technology in the possession of the US government and probably also the Russian and Chinese governments. I'm sure there has been a secret crash retrieval and reverse engineering program underway for decades. And I'm sure that dozens, many UAP non-human craft have been recovered by the United States.
Pentagon just said everything opposite of what he just said yesterday.
Biologics, alien bodies. Yes, it's real. Now, I feel like a scratchy record saying this because the next thing people say is, where's your proof? And I just put the phone down from somebody who has a knowledge of the legacy program. And I asked them, I said, look, what do I tell these people?
Mhm.
I've got to do this record for Global Disclosure Day. What do I say to them? And the first thing they said was, tell them that it matters. It matters that they get out and vote and tell their political representatives that they care about this issue. I can't remember where I saw it this week, but I think Congressman Jared Moskowitz was saying on the campaign trail that the one thing he's getting asked about the most on the campaign trail is the UAP cover-up. I think congressional representatives and senators are very slowly, oh so slowly, coming to the realization that for a large part of the public, but particularly for young voters who aren't daunted by the taboo and stigma and ridicule that's been directed at the subject, that just doesn't work on them. They have a wisdom of the crowd and they've come to the conclusion there really is something to this UAP mystery. They want to know more. And if my inbox
Yes, we do.
is any guide, I am exploding with emails from young people asking me what can they do to help? What can they do to play any kind of significant role in pushing the needle forward? And I say to them, contact New Paradigm Institute and get involved in the disclosure initiatives. Create citizen activism. Go out there and do what Jim Garrison and Danny Sheehan did 30 and 40 years ago during the Watergate and Iran-Contra hearings, and use citizen activism to make people aware of this issue. There is so much on the public record. We have statements from David Grush, Lou Elizondo, Chris Mellon, and then know, we have other very senior officials, as high as Trump, who's made essentially an express admission that he knows something about the UAP issue, and wants to talk about it, but doesn't want to talk about it right now. There's been a conga line of officials with inside knowledge of the military-industrial complex who have revealed that, yes, there is a reality there behind the scenes. And what I can tell you is that there is a massive secret. Billions of dollars of US taxpayer money has been diverted, often illegally, probably criminally, and done through reprehensible and often immoral means
That's where it goes.
to achieve a gain against foreign adversary potential rivals.
Definitely wasn't going to our
That's
roads.
a tragedy. Wouldn't it be a tragedy if our first encounter with a non-human intelligence led to us acting offensively, violently, and aggressively against them? And that's what I understand is happening. I am told we, the American public, should be informed we are using high pulse microwave weapons against non-human craft. And we are bringing those craft down so that we can retrieve them and salvage the technology.
He's talking about
God
scalar.
knows what we're doing to the alien beings inside those craft. I hope we treat them with respect. Heaven help us if there's ever a reckoning for the crimes and the immoralities that we've committed in the name of national security.
Okay, that's scary.
And why does this matter? It matters because at the heart of the US Constitution is a system of checks and balances. It's a beautiful document that stops tyrannical power. It was enshrined by people who had a memory of what had happened in Europe during the period of absolute monarchy, during the period of English kings going mad and sending their citizens off to senseless wars, of French kings having their little moments in Versailles while the people starved. What the whole idea of the US Constitution was, it was enshrined in a moment in history when monarchs' tyrannical rule had got completely out of control. And so it recognized there needed to be a check on executive power. And fundamental to that system of checks and balances is congressional oversight. And that's not happening. And that's what people need to tell their congressional representatives they care about in this election. It's what people all over the world need to wake their governments up to as an issue. For too long, we've bought into the idea that stigma, taboo, and ridicule should be associated with the UAP subject. And what we don't realize is we've been played. We've had a huge wool pulled over our eyes by very clever people in disinformation who wanted us to treat the whole subject with ridicule. Whereas, in fact, there is a massive multi-billions, if not trillions of dollars of enterprise that has been done outside of the scrutiny of Congress, illegally, probably criminally. It's time for that to be redressed. And that's why Global Disclosure Day matters.
Wow. That's actually really scary to think. Like, that's really scary.
That was Ross Coulthart, everyone. And now I would like to continue this theme that has been struck by both Lou and Ross, that there is now incontrovertible proof that this exists. It's no longer a question of if, it's a question of since this is true. And in that spirit, I'd like to now introduce Carl Nell, who several months ago really nailed it at a conference in New York, where he
Soul
basically
conference.
said there is zero doubt. Carl is an aerospace executive. He's a retired colonel, and he's had extensive involvement both while he was in the military and subsequently in the US Congress in pushing disclosure forward. And so along with Lou and Ross, Carl is one of those senior figures in the movement who've had the courage to state the most obvious fact in the world, and that is that there's zero doubt that we are not alone. Carl happens to be in the office with me, along with several other people. We're one of the watch parties that are aggregating around this day. So I'm just going to turn my screen very shortly here right to Carl Nell. Carl, speak to us.
Well, thank you, Jim. And let me just say it's humbling to be invited to address everyone today live from Washington, D.C. And it's actually quite an honor to participate with all of you on this historic occasion. I'd like to start by saying thank you to New Paradigm Institute and its
Feel you, Melissa.
organizers for the Herculean effort that's gone into setting up Global Disclosure Day really in record time, particularly Sarah Nelson, Danny Sheehan, Jim Garrison sitting next to me, and Katie Omren, who've done yeoman's work just getting this thing off the ground. And I'd also like to say hearty hello and welcome to all the participants out there across the globe, as we said, on every continent, perhaps except Antarctica, to participate in this historic occasion. As Lou said and Ross alluded, progress on this topic would not be possible without the support and grassroots efforts of the folks that are participating in this chat and the folks that are in your guys' orbit. And so what actually is this topic, right? And Ross and Lou also have alluded to this. Non-human intelligence exists. Non-human intelligence has been interacting with humanity on this planet. This interaction is ongoing and it's not new. And there is zero doubt. But you already knew that. So how do we go about convincing other people that this is the case, particularly people that aren't necessarily privy to all the information that some of us may otherwise be? And so there's three principal lines of effort, three principal sources of data. There's essentially the first principles argument, which basically says, counter to common belief, that life is common in the universe. How do we know life should be common in the universe? There's 20 billion sun-like stars in the universe. The sun is a population 1 star. There are planets like this, there's stars like the sun that are 5 billion years older than the sun. That's plenty of time for other civilizations to evolve on these other planets.
Sarah, go to
There's
New
recent
Paradigm
scholarship
Institute.
that says that life
YouTube.
evolved on Earth in the Hadean era. The Hadean era was before the crust even cooled. There's recent scholarship that says that microbes have been found in terrestrial rock that have dated to 2 billion years ago, essentially in stasis. So life evolved here very quickly. There are many, many planets like the sun, and there are many, many planets that are much older than the sun. People that would argue that life is uncommon have to justify that proposition more than anyone would have to justify the fact that life evolves very quickly. The second point is faster than light travel. Everybody says faster than light travel is not possible. This is false. Miguel Alcubierre, a postgraduate student at the University of Mexico in 1994, solved Einstein's equations for an effective faster than light mechanism. NASA has investigated this. Everyone accepts his solution as valid. His solution requires negative energy. In 1960, quantum physics demonstrated or predicted the reality of negative energy. In the 90s, the Casimir effect was demonstrated in the laboratory. The Casimir effect demonstrates negative energy. The expansion of the universe, which is caused by dark energy, is negative energy. So we have a solution to Einstein's equations that allow effective faster than light travel. We've got the existence of negative energy proven. This isn't an engineering solution. This isn't a means where we can go and do this, but theoretically it's possible. And this is not argued by modern scholarship. So from a first principles, life is more than likely common, and we know that Einstein's equations support effective faster than light travel. That's the first principles argument. The second is the testimonial. Perhaps there are people out there that may know more than some of us might know, including people that have been in the intelligence community, such as myself. So we can look at several presidents, Barack Obama, President Trump. They both said UAP are real. We can look at, as was mentioned earlier, Chris Mellon, Dave Grush, Lou Elizondo have said non-human intelligence is real. We can look at Lord of the Fleet, Lord Hill Norton, a chief of the defense staff in the United Kingdom in past years, have said UFOs are real. We can look at the first Earl Mountbatten of Burma in the United Kingdom again, that have said UFOs are real. We can look at the chief of the Canadian Defense Ministry, Paul Hellyer, who have said non-human intelligence is real. We can look at Haim Eshed, who is the Israelis' father of their space program, who has said non-human intelligence is real. All these people and more would be in a position to know.
Mm-hmm.
Then we can look at the evidence, the data. You've seen the videos, the floor video, the gimbal, the go fast. A lot of people probably don't know Gordon Cooper, one of America's 7 Mercury astronauts, chased UFOs over West Germany in 1951.
Did not
He
know.
testified to that fact before the United Nations in 1978, analogous to the David Fravor Tic Tac incident. We can look at the UFO incursions over the Northern Tier ballistic missile early warning sites in the 70s and the document supported and testimony supported readiness status change of our ICBMs in the 60s at Malmstrom Air Force Base, where many missiles were taken offline by a UFO. The analogous thing happened in the Soviet Union contemporaneously. In their case, the missiles were brought online. There's an agreement between the United States and, at the time, the Soviet Union, intending to reduce the threat of nuclear war, that talks about each party notifying the other if UFOs are impinging on their warfighting systems, because this was recognized as a fact. There's documentary evidence, the Twining memo from 1947. General Nathan Twining, future Chief of Staff of the U.S. Air Force, wrote a memorandum that said UFOs are most likely
Melissa says they've turned off nukes. Yep.
There's an official Canadian, official Australian documents declassified on the National Archives of Australia from 1971 from their defense attaché that made a formal assessment of the United States' interest in UFOs, the reality of that, and the fact that the US was investigating anti-gravity programs in concert with looking into UFOs, a conclusion that would make no sense unless the reality of this topic was demonstrated. So some people say, well, if this is real, why don't they fly over the White House or something? Well, in 1952, UFOs flew over Washington, D.C. over 2 weekends. There were radar visual sightings, there were air-to-air intercepts, and it created the largest press conference since World War II up to that time. People say, well, why don't they just land during the middle of the day? Well, that happened in 1994 at the Ariel School in Rura, Zimbabwe, where UFOs presented themselves with beings and occupants on the ground, witnessed by numerous children. The exact same incident happened in 1966 in Westall, Australia. The people that witnessed those events are still alive, and they continue to state the assertion of that being a factual occurrence.
Wow.
So these things taken together, along with much other evidence, suggest that this is absolutely true. And I'm speaking to you today to tell you that there is zero doubt this is absolutely true. I know this personally. So the way to solve this problem is to motivate the grassroots.
There is zero doubt this is
Political
absolutely true.
activism
Did he
is
just
the
totally
solution
pull our
to
finger?
restoring
Like
government
what?
Oversight, developing a process for
No, he meant it the
responsible
other way, I'm
disclosure,
sure.
and advancing society through the efforts of that process. So I salute you for your participation in this event. Again, I thank New Paradigm Institute. I'm humbled to be able to address you and participate with you in this historic occasion, and I wish you the best. God bless.
I'm gonna pause that real quick.
Thank you, Carl.
One thing that they kept saying to me too, or that I'm noticing, is they keep saying that they're not broadcasting to Antarctica, which is so weird. Either they're actually not broadcasting to Antarctica, or there's something about Antarctica coming up that we need to start paying attention to. Because they brought that up. They brought up Antarctica like 3 times in a weird way. So, just saying, I don't know. Me being conspiracy.
Zero doubt, everyone. Carl nailed it. And I think that meme went viral because he, in a very few words, stated what the actual truth of the momentousness of our time
The wall of
actually
giants.
boils down to. there's zero doubt that we are not alone. We'd like to turn now to the U.S. Congress, to Congressman Tim Burchett, who's a representative from Tennessee. He's been very active in the formation of the UAP caucus in the House of Representatives. He's been very vocal, he's been very tireless, and he has on many occasions stated that the key now in moving forward is citizen activism.
Tim Burchett, and thank y'all for being here, and I want to thank you for your dedication to the UAP disclosure. I still want to call them UFOs. This is something I've been fighting for in Congress, as y'all know, for quite some time, and we're making some progress. There's a lot of frustration. Last year, we had a historical hearing. 3 credible witnesses talked about our government's lack of transparency on the issue. Navy pilot Ryan Graves, Navy Commander David Fravor, and of course, whistleblower David Grush gave some really compelling testimonies. I launched, as you know, the bipartisan UAP caucus in Congress, which is led by myself and my buddy Jared Moskowitz. He's a Democrat from Florida. It is bipartisan. This is one issue where there's no disagreement. Jared Moskowitz, Anna Paulina Luna, my buddy Nancy Mace, are all on the caucus, and we're working together on what else we can do. We plan on having another hearing on the UAPs soon, and I suspect Nancy Mace will take a leadership role in that, hopefully chair it. Hope everybody stay tuned for more details on that. And before the hearing started, we had folks like my buddy Lou Elizondo and Jeremy Corbell and many others telling the world their stories. And they've worked very hard to bring attention to what our government is trying to hide. We can keep fighting for disclosure in Washington, but we won't get anywhere if the American people don't make their voices heard. And I would encourage you to call your congressman or senators and explain to them that you would very much like them to support that and join the UAP caucus.
Any way we can all help.
It's thanks to people like you all, groups like the New Paradigm Institute, that this issue gets any attention at all. Because the national media, they want to pat us on the head and just kind of send us on our way. I think you need to keep calling your congressmen and senators to tell them you want to keep the truth about UAPs out in front of the public, and we need total disclosure. That's what you want, total disclosure. What are we spending all this money on? Mm-hmm. So I'm Congressman Tim Burchett. Please, y'all keep up the fight. Thank you.
Warriors.
There are a number of things happening, even in an election year here in the United States. There's hearings coming up in the Senate with Senator Gillibrand, and Congresswoman Mace will be chairing a similar hearing in the House of Representatives. So there's a lot.
You guys are going to want to watch that, because that's going to be a big hearing.
Is really in the leadership very dynamically. We want to now just take a moment to catch everyone up on what the actual state of play is. We had the legislation last December, which you probably all know about. October 20th was the day when it should be turned over to the National Library of Congress, the National Archives, but that didn't happen in the way that we would have expected and the legislation demanded, given the vicissitudes of politics in Washington. So I'd like to now turn over to Kevin Wright, who's the media director for the New Paradigm Institute, who's been living and working in Washington virtually his whole life, and is on the Hill on a continual basis and tracks in detail what is happening, just to give everybody an update on where are we in terms of the disclosure to the National Archives. He's here in the office, so I'm just going to slide my computer.
I wonder what happens if they don't follow suit with that.
I won't. Like Jim said, my name is Kevin Wright. I work with NPI. Quick update. So, when the National Defense Authorization Act passed last December and signed into law by President Biden, it set forth a UAP records collection, which will be administered and managed by the National Archives and Records Administration, 300 days after the enactment of the legislation was the deadline, which is October 20th, for agencies and departments of the executive branch to turn over records to the archives for consideration to be published and made public. Since then, about 10 days ago or so, the National Archives issued a memorandum instructing the various departments and agencies of the executive branch to turn over their records not by the 20th, but by September 30th, 2025.
Oh, they pushed
So
it
as a
back.
reminder that while we make small steps forward, sometimes we take a couple steps back. And while some of these records will still become available, it's not as soon as we would have hoped or liked. But it reinforces the idea that we have to all work together, whether you're parts of different organizations or wherever you're coming from. It's going to require all of us working together
That they do.
to further the cause. Because as Congressman Burchett has said, as Carl Nell said, as Lou Elizondo said, it's going to take all of us working together. It's going to require us to make our voices heard. It's going to require members of Congress to realize that there is an electorate out there that's deeply concerned about government transparency and about disclosure of this issue in a responsible way that protects our national security. But this is information that we have a right to know about. And it's going to require all of us to work together. So, we have missed out on likely the opportunity to include the UAP Disclosure Act this year. But, this is, almost the end of a congressional session. We're going to be starting a new congressional session in January, and there'll be a new president in the United States. So there's a lot of work to do, but that's why we're all here today, is to join together and accomplish this mission together. Thank you.
We're going to get there.
Thank you, Kevin, very much. I'd like to now turn the floor over to Danny Sheehan, who's coming from Santa Cruz, California. He's the president and general counsel.
This is another dude you need to pay
Paradigm
close attention
Institute,
to.
and has really been in the midst of the UFO, UAP disclosure since the late 1970s. Danny?
This guy has his fingers in the pot, man.
Good afternoon.
Okay.
Great. I have just like 5 minutes to sort of recap, what the point is that we're all here today talking about as we move to the next stage of our presentation this morning, introducing the people around the country and around the world that are engaged in setting up the Citizens for Disclosure groups. That again, I want to emphasize that what we're dealing with here is forcing the Congress of the United States to force the executive branch to reveal to the people of the world the 6 major facts that have to be addressed. Number one, that the UFO phenomenon is real. That this is not mistaken identities of birds or some other kind of technology that is just a secret program of the United States government or some other foreign power. These UFOs are actually vehicles that they're transporting organic live beings from some other planet in our galaxy and some other dimension within our galaxy.
Okay.
And that they're coming and going to our planet.
So
right now.
extraterrestrial
We have that
then?
for some time. They in fact have bases here on our planet, many of which are located high in the desolate areas in the mountains where very few people ever go, and beneath the sea. There's a major base in the Pacific that we're virtually certain exists off Baja, between Baja and Guadalupe Island, potentially beneath the ocean floor. This has been monitored. We have hundreds of videos of the vehicles coming and going from that location and plunging into the sea and going down into and coming from this base. This is
That's new
extraordinarily
news.
important for everyone to understand. Very importantly, there is some percentage inside our national security state apparatus that knows this to be true. And they are in fact engaged, as Ross Coulthard pointed out, they are engaged at the present time in a kinetic or active program attempting to shoot down these UFOs. basically attempting to bring them down with
This is live.
psychotronic weapon that they have designed, and that they are taking captive the members who pilot these craft. This is an extraordinarily dangerous situation that is going on in secret, and that there's been a campaign mounted by the national security state apparatus to keep this secret from Congress, to lie to American presidents about this, and to lie consistently to the American public to keep this concealed. And the reason for this is the fact that they are attempting to back engineer or reverse engineer this technology so they can design weapons that can put them in a position of comparative advantage over other nation states.
Currently,
such as
that
Russia,
weapon stuff he's
China,
talking about is in
and North
Antarctica.
Korea. This is an extraordinarily narrow, restricted view of what the potentials are here, of this extraordinary moment in our history. And that we have to understand that the present state of the success of our campaign is just barely getting underway right now. That we've been at this for many decades, and as Lou pointed out, since the 2017 disclosure on the front page of the New York Times that this is real, the testimony back July 26th of 2023 of David Grush telling Congress in open session that we're in possession of a number of these UFO craft and the bodies of the non-human occupants of these craft. This information has now been conveyed to Congress. Our job as the citizens is to make Congress respond effectively. The United States Senate has done so in the passage of its statute back in 2023 on July 27th, the day after David Grush's testimony on the House side. The Senate has passed a 64-page bill, and that is the operative bill that we're in the process of trying to get passed completely. Certain limited numbers of people in the House of Representatives have tried to stop the full passage of the Senate bill. Our job as a collective community here, not only in the United States, but around the world, is to press forward to get this entire 64-page bill passed as soon as possible. In fact, immediately. This is our job, and it needs to be our first priority when the new administration comes in and the new Congress comes in, the Senate and the House, whichever the division of power is between the two parties. When the election is over, we need to put to the top of their agenda coming to grips with this reality. Because people will say, well, why be concerned about this since this has been going on for so long? The reality is that our human family is closer to thermonuclear war as we sit here today on this Sunday, October 20th, the date on which this information was supposed to be turned over to our National Archives. We are faced with a national security state infrastructure that is defying the will of Congress, and that they're refusing to turn this over. And they've exercised power to get the National Archives to give them virtually another full year.
Yeah, that's
This
pathetic.
cannot be accepted. And why is that? Because the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists have now reset the doomsday clock. They have set the doomsday clock to 90 seconds before midnight.
Oh
That's
boy.
90 seconds before a potential thermonuclear holocaust on our planet that will destroy the life-generating capacity of our planet and our entire species and millions of other species on our planet. The danger that is being presented now by that potential thermonuclear war, you need to understand, the United States under bipartisan administrations, under the administration of George Bush Sr., George W. Bush, Obama, and also Biden, have moved nuclear missiles into Germany and into Poland, and they are starting to reset the fuses of these nuclear missiles, 1,600 nuclear missiles. They're resetting them to instant detonation for a potential first strike against Russia and China and North Korea. This has caused the Putin in Russia to start giving instructions to his commanders in the field to start exercising practice sessions on the deployment of tactical nuclear weapons in the Ukraine. This is unacceptable. And the realization is that the extraterrestrial beings and the extra-dimensional beings that are crafted, they're flying these craft, these UFO craft, have demonstrated their ability and their willingness to shut down
Melissa
these
said that.
nuclear facilities. They have not only shut down individual missiles in various
Just a
silos
psychic
across
here.
the country and across the world, they have in fact totally immobilized entire United States nuclear aircraft carrier battle groups, have shut them down completely. No communication, no radar, no propulsion systems, in the middle of the dark, sitting there helpless. They have the capacity to do this, and they're letting us know that they have the
I want a
capacity to do
hoverboard
this.
too.
And if in fact this march toward a potential thermonuclear exchange continues, there is a potential of the intervention on the part of these extraterrestrial beings into our affairs here to shut down all of the nuclear facilities across the world. And that will in fact reveal their existence long before we have been adequately prepared to integrate the realization of the existence of this extraterrestrial civilization here on our planet. And this has been made impossible because of the effort on the part of this tiny element inside the national security state bureaucracy in our country to lie and deceive and dissemble and to tell our Congress and to tell our presidents and to tell our people that this simply isn't true, that they're simply not here. Now, this revelation, if it's compelled by an intervention on the part of the UFO occupants, if this takes place, this is a potential catastrophic disclosure, revealing this information before our people have come to adjust to this. This is an extraordinarily important event that is going on right now. It distinguishes this event from the past history that we're in this moment right now. This threat is imminent right now, and we've got to get revelation made. So we cannot sit around and wait until just next year at the passage of the new National Defense Authorization Act. A year from now, in the next December of 2025, we have to move immediately, beginning in January of this coming year, when the new administration comes into office, the new Congress comes into session. We need to move this to the top of the priorities right now.
Wow.
To get this disclosure made. The New Paradigm Institute that is presenting this gathering here today to begin a process of an annual global disclosure day, similar to Earth Day. This is going to be a process that we're initiating here today on October 20th. And that our whole objective of the New Paradigm Institute is to mobilize the American people, mobilize the people around the world. And as Sarah Nelson, who's our executive director, has pointed out, we are undertaking various means by which we are going to be doing this. One of the most important of these means is the establishment of these citizens disclosure movements, the Citizens for Disclosure, that we're going to have groups in each of the 435 congressional districts here in the United States. We're going to have state offices in all 50 states, and we're going to have similar organizations around the world, putting pressure on their legislatures to undertake the same process that we're going to be compelling our Congress to engage in now. So this is who the New Paradigm Institute is. We've done this in the past. We are the people who forced the public hearings in Iran-Contra. We're the ones that initiated the Federal Criminal Racketeering Act charges, the legal charges against the off-the-shelf enterprise of Colonel Oliver North in the Reagan-Bush administration, shipping weapons to the Contras in violation of a congressional ban. We are the ones who forced the congressional hearings in the Karen Silkwood case. We are the people who've been able to do this because we are open to organizing everybody across the political spectrum to engage in this process. That we are able to do this, that we've done this in the past, but we need your participation, okay? And so what we're gonna do is for the rest of the program, we're gonna be bringing to you individuals around the country and around the world who are dedicated to this so that you will be inspired to take action in your local area, because you know that you're part of this countrywide and literally worldwide movement to demand disclosure now so that we can begin to prepare as a human family our geopolitical structures, our economic structures, our religious structures, to be able to comprehend the extraordinary reality that we are getting ready to enter into now within the next few years, okay? And so that we have to do this now. My name is Dan Sheehan, that I am the president of the New Paradigm Institute and general counsel, who have been involved in helping to draft legislation to protect the whistleblowers, to potentially provide legal representation of whistleblowers that are retaliated against for trying to get their information to Congress. And we are the ones who are going to be helping to coordinate this activity among all organizations across our country. Okay, so please stay with us for the rest of the program and listen to the people who are working at the grassroots level around the country and around the world to bring this extraordinary new information to the Congress and to the world. Thank you so much. And stick with the New Paradigm Institute. Come to our website at newparadigminstitute.org. There you will be able to get all of the information and to be able to participate in this extraordinary event that's taking place. Thank you so much for your time. And now Jim is going to introduce you to the people that are working around the country and around the world to bring this information to you. Thank you very much.
If you guys haven't had a chance to do that, I recommend at some point too going to their website, signing up, so that way you can keep up to date with all their information that they give. But this is some of the stuff that guy just told us was breaking news, telling us that there was a location in our mountaintops that they live in beneath the ocean. We knew that there was UAP. We knew that there was UAP that would dip across, like we've heard that some go in the water, some come out of the water. Congress has said that. They're calling them USO. But the fact that he just said there's bases here on this planet, that's new. Danny Sheehan is the man that you guys definitely going to want to pay attention to as we move forward in this. But that was some information, y'all.
Thank you, Danny, very much. It's a real privilege to be working with Danny and Sarah. I'd like to now introduce to everyone Don Schmitt. We've all heard of Roswell. That's the iconic crash in July of 1947 that really, in many ways, ushered in the modern UFO movement. And it is Don Schmitt, more than anyone, at least that I know about, who's been the preeminent researcher on all things Roswell. He's a member of the North American representative of ICER, the International Coalition for Extraterrestrial Research. Don, it's a pleasure to have you with us today.
Oh, such a pleasure to be with you. I should start by just correcting the spelling of my last name. It's SCHMITT. So
one of those people.
I come before you today not only in somewhat a bittersweet situation, in that as much as the Roswell investigation has demonstrated that we've had dozens, literally over 100 potential whistleblowers throughout our investigation that could have testified on Capitol Hill as to the true nature of the crash that happened in July of 1947. Just imagine any one of you speaking to first-hand witnesses who could say and describe to you holding pieces of an actual UFO. And that all those descriptions were identical, from the highest ranking military down to even children back at that time, now adults, but nonetheless, the memories were still that profound. Still, something, as one of the witnesses put it to us, it's the first thing I think about every morning when I get up, and it's the last thing I think about each evening when I go to bed.
Wow.
We had the wonderful experience working in the past with the late Congressman Stephen Schiff. He was truly, in many ways, the first one to push for disclosure, specifically on Roswell. And the very fact that it would then force the Pentagon / the government to have 3 separate press conferences responding to us, providing to date 4 official explanations to this event, this crash. 4. I always joke, husbands, try that with your wives when you come home, too late some night. But nonetheless, we just kind of sweep it aside that, well, that's just the government being the government, that these people, you know, they can't be trusted. They're just natural deception artists. I want to remind everyone that it was in July of 1995 that the late Congressman Stephen Schiff put out a press release where he actually accused the United States Air Force of a massive ongoing cover up. Just imagine that. And the fact that he could not enlist other support on Capitol Hill. So just imagine if this was all coming to fruition today. And just imagine if I still had 100 of my first-hand Roswell witnesses, true whistleblowers, who could describe the wreckage, who could describe even more the bodies which were recovered. Roswell has become truly a household word around the globe.
Yeah.
The fact that I have lectured from Russia to China, Japan, Australia, throughout Europe, South America on Roswell is a tribute to all of those witnesses now passed on, but yet were forced to live with that deception, who had to take with them, in so many cases, that truth. And that's why, in my case, for having started out as a total skeptic, where I thought that we would make a single trip down to New Mexico and wrap this up in short order. And here we are, all these years later, in stronger pursuit than ever before. Thank you to New Paradigm as far as and Danny and Jim and all the others involved, and allowing me to be part of this, because in as much as we've tried to remain proactive, in as much as we still are on the case, in as much as from a skeptic to when I'm asked today, do you believe? I say, no, I don't believe, but I'm 99.9% convinced. And such is with our position with the International Coalition on Extraterrestrial Research, that we sign an oath, respective of our individual countries, that we accept that we are dealing with an extraterrestrial phenomena. We are dealing with a technology off the planet. That's how much progress we've made. So it's well beyond just the civilian UFO groups, well beyond just as far as the armchair investigators who are trolling the internet, always hoping to have the last word on all this. But we're going to, because Capitol Hill is now officially involved. And that's where this may be an opportunity we may not have ever again. We have to see it through. We have to know that in all assuredness that we have taken this down to the 1 yard line, and now we're going to push it in the end zone, because time is not on our side.
He likes
Our
football.
witnesses, as demonstrated with Roswell, they do have, as far as time limits on their availability. We act now, we come together, and we come together as a coalition on a global basis. So I commit my
Cheers.
full involvement to as far as this entire effort, and I foresee that where UFOs, and I agree with Congressman Burchett, I prefer UFO, because that's the tried and true. No one has any doubt what we're talking about. And going all the way back to the 50s, UFO. And so let's, as a tribute to all of those who initially made the effort, no longer here to participate, that we know they're still rooting us on, and we finish it. We take it in the end zone, as I said, and we once and for all demonstrate true disclosure with a capital D. I thank New Paradigm,
I
and
hope
now
so.
the work begins. Thank you.
I really hope we get to that point in disclosure where we get that. That'd be really cool.
Thank you, Don. Thank you for your decades of service to this disclosure movement. Don is one of the faculty for the New Paradigm Ubiquity University training program in the history, law, and politics of UAP. I'd like to now introduce Beatrice Villarreal, who as an astronomer with the Nordic Institute of Theoretical Physics in Stockholm. So we can just expand our minds for a moment from craft and biologics that we find here on our planet to what's going on out there in the larger cosmic reality. So Beatrice, thank you so much for joining us from Sweden. And I turn the program over to you.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's a true honor to be here among these wonderful speakers. So let's see, I think I need one more try. I apologize because the sharing of the video is always more challenging. Now we try once more. And
technical difficulties on their end.
Here we go. So as an astronomer, I'm
sorry
really,
that's flipped.
Interested in trying to push this topic as much forward as possible through the scientific methods. And as an astronomer, I of course think that we need to detect, identify, and characterize UFOs. And we in particular need to search for artifacts of non-human intelligence, in my opinion, because this is the most relevant question that we have now. And I think we need to search in space, like for extraterrestrial probes. We need to search in the atmosphere. We need to search underground. We need to search underground. We need to search under the water. And we need to also get the journals to allow us to publish these things, because what is happening right now is that the mainstream scientific journals don't want to touch the topic because of stigma and bias, which leads us to a catch-22 situation where you can't publish evidence because there's no prior body of evidence, and it just goes on like that.
So weird this is still being stigmatized, even with everything happening in Congress and everything.
This is a serious issue in the scientific community. And so I came into this topic because my team, the Vasco team, we found very unusual flashes in the sky, and some of them were even aligned in with an extremely low probability. And these flashes in the sky we found on all photographic plates before Sputnik, and yet these flashes looked just like reflections from artificial objects in pre-Sputnik images. And these are just examples of what we saw. And we keep on working with these images and these searches through citizen science that we do together with amateur astronomy associations and students in, for example, in Algeria and in Nigeria. And this has been going on for several years, these searches for these sort of transients. So what we do now is that we want to confirm our findings with an independent method. And for that, we have created a new project called ExoProbe, where we're trying to build a network of telescopes. Right now, it's a very small network with 2 telescopes in New Mexico. But we want to build a serious network of telescopes so we can search for extraterrestrial probes or non-human objects outside the atmosphere by looking for similar kind of flashes as those that we saw in the photographic plates. And we will use high-speed cameras and wide-field telescopes to do so. Because we want to detect these objects, we want to localize them in 3D, we want to verify them, and we want to be able to reproduce any findings so that any astronomer around the world can just say, yeah, that is really a ET object. We simply want that solid scientific evidence in our hands. And we have a search range outside the atmosphere in order to try to avoid national security concerns. And we have a method to try to that minimizes false positives. And the goal is, of course, not only to localize it, but also to eventually, once we find an object, go there and pick it up and bring it down to the Earth. And this is how this network of telescopes looks. But what I also do, there is a project that I do in my free time together with my friends and as a hobby thing, but it's super fun for us and super interesting as well. And it's called the European Crash Retrieval Initiative. And we do this together with UAP Sweden and together with, of course, the Vasco project that I'm representing and the Ocean X team, which you may have heard of in context of an anomaly that was found on the bottom of the Baltic Sea outside the Swedish coast, where they found this object that looks like either a crashed UFO or non-human artifact, and that still needs to be studied. And However, the ECRI project, we are looking for all kind of tips that we can get on UFO crashes. And we want to create this independent community-driven citizen science project where we collaborate with the public and we try to identify possible crash sites via data gathering. So if you know of any UFO crash, please email me or send something via the system. And the goal is, of course, to visit and examine these crash sites, to gather materials and to study this scientifically, because we want to study a real crashed flying saucer. And anything we find, we want to share with scientists and with the public in a transparent manner, because I believe that we don't only have to wait for governments, we can actually ourselves go there, get the data and get out the results to the general public. We can do this. And this is an image from our first expedition. Sadly, we didn't find any flying saucer. I got 20 mosquito bites, however. And so, finally, if you see something, if you are aware of any crashed UFO in Europe, please let us know. We are very, very grateful for any report you can give us about this. We're actually working on a very interesting case right now, but we really hope that you can assist us with submitting more suggestions of possible crash sites. Thank you.
Excuse me. Sorry, I've been coughing.
Thank you, Beatrice. We wish you all the best in your endeavors. We know you have
That's
many
true.
challenges
Melissa
there in
said,
Europe
I think it was
to
Melissa. Somebody in
engage
chat
this
said they
kind
don't
of,
want the government to come chase down and get that information before
This
they
is
do.
a moment when we want to
It's gonna,
continue
you know,
to just expand what it is that we're talking about. We know there's zero doubt. We know that Beatrice is doing all kinds of research, as are others in the cosmos, to identify what's actually going on. And at the same time, there have been thousands and thousands of human beings who have experienced the non-human intelligence. So we want to now welcome Kathleen Marden, who has been researching the experiencer phenomenon for many, many years and has accumulated data from around the world and across cultures and time zones about the experiencer dynamic. So we want to hear from Kathleen now about the nature of her research and the conclusions that are beginning to be drawn from people who've actually engaged in intelligible communication with extraterrestrials.
Never heard the name Kathleen, I don't think. Put the face
Thank
on.
you very much, Jim, and
Yep.
I'd like to welcome everyone who is listening in today. I came to this topic when I was only 13 years old. It was in 1961, and my aunt and uncle, Betty and Barney Hill, had had a close encounter with an unconventional flying object that hovered only 100 feet above them in New Hampshire's White Mountains. They remembered encountering non-human entities. They seemed non-human on a dirt road with tall trees all around and a fiery orb. And when they arrived home, they realized that there was physical evidence that something had happened to them. I have spent much of my life investigating this case, going to the archives and doing archival research on them, what happened to them, and those who obfuscated the truth regarding the reality of their experience. And then I began working with others who have had these experiences as well.
Changed your
What
whole
I
life.
discovered is that initially, most experience ontological shock. They have encountered something, a non-human entity, for which they are completely unfamiliar.
How many of you guys in the chat
They
have seen UFOs?
experienced technology that they have never experienced before, far beyond anything that exists on this planet. These people need someone to talk to. They need to overcome this initial anxiety they are feeling. Yet, so often, when they tell someone what has occurred, that person's response is highly negative. People have been conditioned to be skeptical, to ridicule people who have had these experiences. There is
Kyle, this is on New Paradigm Institute YouTube channel.
Individuals who have joined together as disinformants to target individuals who have had these experiences in an attempt to frighten them, to destroy their lives, to prevent them from engaging in a useful profession where they can support themselves, to convince the public that if the public hears about this, that this did not actually occur, that these people are mentally ill, that they're seeking attention, that they are doing this for money. Nobody makes money doing this. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm an experiencer advocate, and I've reached out to people around the world who have had these experiences, and we have maintained confidentiality because these people are already hurting. They do not need human intervention to hurt them further, to create additional fear in them.
Mm-hmm.
What I've found that they have in common is they might have been healed by these non-humans. They might have been warned about environmental problems coming. They might have been warned about nuclear war, how catastrophic these things could be. Many have become environmentalists. Some good things have come out of this. There are also other individuals who continue to have negative contact of some kind. It's a different kind of contact.
Mm-hmm.
But we encourage people to understand what is occurring, to embrace this and to learn about what they have experienced, because it is only through knowledge that they can overcome the initial reactions that they've had. We've worked to set up committees that will assist people. We've worked to find qualified therapists who we can refer individuals to who are suffering from the consequences of this ontological shock. And I'm going to stop here so that I won't take up any more time. But I thank you so much for inviting me today and for listening to my message.
If anything, I'm glad that we're breaking the stigma so people can speak out about this stuff and like
Thank you,
not
Kathleen.
feel loony. I had somebody in the
Really
chat earlier who
appreciate
said that
your,
they've seen one, but they didn't want to
remarks
talk
and the
about it
work
because
that you're
the stigma.
doing. It may be that the most important thing that we humans can do at this moment, if you think about the fact that we're not alone, is to learn how to intelligibly communicate with the extraterrestrials. Up to this point, the governments have kept that in their own exclusive purview. And look what we've got. If all of us would spend the time seeking experience of the extraterrestrials in an open-hearted way and democratize the experience globally so that it's the people of the world who are in communion with these advanced civilizations, not just our governments. Just think of what a world we would have then.
Mm-hmm. For everybody.
And in this spirit, I want to turn now to Julius Julia Mossbridge of the Mossbridge Institute, who's been developing a body of work about what she calls edge science, which is really that domain of human inquiry now that we need to advance into in order to understand who we're dealing with when we're dealing with these non-human intelligences. So Julie, thank you so much for joining us, and say a few words about your research and the disposition of mind and heart that we need as we approach our cosmic moment.
Thank you, Jim. I've really enjoyed listening to everyone so far, and everyone with different points of view, some mutually exclusive. And that's key, is that this experience reminds me of being on the edge of the unknown. And that's where edge science and technology comes in. So my background, for those who don't know me, and there's for many who don't know me, I have largely studied cognitive neuroscience, artificial intelligence, and experimental psychology at Tier 1 research institutions. Let me explain what a Tier 1 research institution is in the United States. It's an institution that receives millions and millions of dollars in federal funding. I started to notice the way that human supercapacities, or what we might call our normal capacities, but that are not discussed, like telepathy, precognition, clairvoyance, psychokinesis, how in those Tier 1 research institutions, while it should be in the world of science acceptable and even desirable to ask any question and do rigorous research to try to answer the question, there's discouragement of answering questions and even asking questions about these topics. By consciousness-based technology topics. And I started to notice the way science works and the way technology works. And by working, I don't mean the nitty-gritty, although of course I knew that as well, but socially how it works. So I noticed that the Tier 1 research institutions that get the millions of dollars of funding from the federal government are at the mercy of what the federal government thinks is okay to research. And the federal government is actually at the mercy in the United States of the people and what pressure we put on the federal government to research and what pressure we put on the federal government to innovate. And I guess intuitively led from my home in Northern California last year in November to drive across the country and go to Washington, D.C. And I didn't have a job and I didn't know what I was doing there. And I think now I know. So I think I'm starting this thing called RISE, Research and Innovation at the Scientific Edge. And that you can see behind me, change.org/Rise White House. I'll also put it in the chat window. I'm creating a petition along with 3 other people whom I've met and are now close friends, or relatively close friends, and some very close friends and collaborators who have experience in the intelligence community. And put a pin in whatever opinions you have about the intelligence community for a second. They have enough experience in the intelligence community to know that it's actually a national security risk for the United States not to be openly developing ecosystems that can investigate edge science, the science of what we currently feel is the unknown. That includes UAP technology. It includes space-time navigation, advanced energy, spiritual and indigenous wisdom that can be used to create technologies that have previously been ignored. So this is apparently what I'm doing. I have an agreement with the team that if we can get 1,000 signatures by the end of the week, that will go ahead and send the petition and the description of what we're doing to some relatively influential reporters. And we'll see if we can get national, maybe international media coverage for the effort. It's a nonpartisan effort. And one of the things I love about the UAP disclosure movement is that this is a bipartisan and nonpartisan program. In other words, whoever ends up in the White House, we're asking them to establish the RISE office in the executive office of the president. So please go ahead and read the experiences that we've had and what we believe to be useful here in the RISE petition, consider signing it. Just know that at change.org, they put a little ad in where they ask you to donate. Don't do that. You're not donating to this effort. You're donating to change.org, unless you want to donate to change.org itself, which is a for-profit. So I would suggest just sign the petition and pass it along to a friend. And think about the power that we have in love. And that's the last thing I want to say, is that unconditional love is the key to all of the positive steps that we can take in science and technology as the United States and as a leader around the world, and speaking to other countries or people in other countries, in every country around the world. So if we can stay in unconditional love, if we can try to practice that, then partisanship and violence aren't part of that.
I've
That's
heard
what I have
that
to say.
a
Thank
lot,
you so
that
much.
love is the key. That's many things are leading towards that
Thank you,
direction.
Julia. There's no doubt that this is the way forward for the human race. It's a new paradigm. We need to expand our consciousness. We need to be developing all kinds of new facilities of mind and heart as we prepare ourselves for the cosmic moment. So thank you for that.
What is this
We wanna
cosmic
now,
moment?
uh,
I want to be
change
there.
pace. We've had a number of speakers that have really been brought into this global broadcast to set context. The most important point being that there's now zero doubt that humanity is encountering advanced extraterrestrial beings, civilizations, and technologies. Thousands of people have had experiences, been abducted,
I've
as
been
we've
abducted.
seen.
I did have an experience. I wasn't abducted.
We have the capacity to begin to train ourselves in how we approach this phenomenon, both psycho-emotionally, but also, I would say, linguistically, and learning intelligible communication. That's what's now up for humanity. We want to now broaden the conversation. We want to start by going to a few places where our Citizens for Disclosure groups are live. And as we start, I want to begin by honoring two individuals in particular who were instrumental and, in fact, generated the idea for Global Disclosure Day only about 5 weeks ago. This, believe it or not, this event is only 5 weeks in gestation. It came out of a conversation that several of us were in with Katie Amron, Bertie Jaworski, and a few others, and it was with
That's a
Katie
YouTube guy, or a
Bertie
TikTok guy that I know.
really interacted and generated this idea. Katie is the Director of Operations for the Washington, D.C. office. She's there in Denver with a number of her friends and colleagues. So we want to turn to you, Katie, and just say hello. And you could just bring in the people that are there with you in Denver.
Thank you, Jim. Here I am in Denver, Colorado with 15 of our closest friends. Having a great time, really enjoying the program. Back to you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you there. Thank you, Denver. Wonderful to have you part of our program. Thank you, Katie, for everything that you've done to make this possible, from initially actually seeding the idea. So well done. Thank you. I want to turn now to Albuquerque, New Mexico, to Bertie Jaworski. Bertie was the other one who came up with this idea with Katie. Bertie is really an extraordinary, I would say, a disclosure entrepreneur. There's nobody I know of in the entire world that is a program with so many people, hundreds of people there in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And we're going to pause here for a few extra minutes with Jaworski, with Bertie, because in addition to assembling a number of people in her cafe. She's brought a couple of people who will speak for a few minutes to our global audience. So Bertie, thank you so much, and I turn the mic over to you. It looks like you already have one.
Hey, Jim. Thank you so much. We are so excited here in Albuquerque. We have the best UFO Citizens for Disclosure group in the known universe here. We are so excited to be a part of this incredible movement. The question of whether we as human beings are alone in this universe is the most important question that any of us could ever potentially face. Now, all of us here know that we're not alone. Many of us have had experiences. We have researched this for decades. We know people who have had encounters or abduction experiences. And so as to the question whether we are alone, we know that we are not. But we are waiting and imploring our government through our congressional members to disclose to the world, to the public, that we are not alone, so that all of this research that has been collected by secretive government special access programs, by Department of Defense contractors, so that these crash retrieval items, so that biologics, so to speak, can be placed in the hands of scientists and other researchers where that material belongs, where it can benefit humanity. So we are here very excited to support the disclosure movement. And I'd like to introduce a couple of super cool people who are here with us today. First is Paranormal Ranger Stan Milford, whose book that's a week ago, and it is incredible.
Thank you, Bertie. Thank you, everyone. You know, I did a career as a Naval Ranger, federal law enforcement officer for 23 years. Myself and my partner, Jonathan Dover, were sworn law enforcement officers that investigated cases that would involve UFOs or UAPs. And it's, for us, it wasn't a matter of belief. It was a matter of collecting evidence in regards to support the case. And with this, in the cases that we've done, the evidence shows that these things that people refer to as UFOs and UAPs, the evidence shows that it is very real.
Sorry for the
People are
audio. It's
having-
poor on the
having
TV
encounters.
too. At the moment.
Sometimes they can be even traumatizing to those individuals. But it is something that this country and the world really needs to step up and acknowledge that these things do happen. It's not make-believe, it's not fantasy. There's information that supports that these things are coming to light today. And all of us as humanity need to get behind this effort for disclosure and for truth of these matters. I think it's very important in this day and time for mankind and the history of mankind that we get to the truth and get beyond the wars and the violence that was mentioned earlier. We've got a long way to go to treating our fellow man with humanity. Thank you.
Thank you, Stan.
You come in peace. I can't do it.
Here in New Mexico, we have had so many incredible encounters and cases. And now we have a number of researchers and people who have been important in the field of ufology for a long time. Here is another one of these people, Charles Hall, who has talked for decades about his experiences near Nellis Air Force Base. Here's Charles.
Hello, thank you for having me on your program. I'll keep it very brief. What While I was stationed at Nellis Air Force Base outside Los
Can you guys
Angeles,
hear him? Let me know in the
I
chat.
spent more than 2 years as the weather observer at Indian Springs Gunnery Ranges, which is the backwater area of 51. And I summarized my experiences in the series called Millennial Hospitality, spelled the way it sounds with 2 N's and 2 L's. But I also have authored Hall photon theory and a book entitled Beyond Relativity. I have a master's degree in, thanks to my wife, in applied nuclear physics and nuclear physics. And I believe Einstein was quite wrong about relativity. I believe there were many more force fields that occur naturally in the world of physics that Einstein was unaware of, and that relativity was just an attempt to, in a fudge fact, recover what he didn't know. Because the spellcraft that I saw and the deep spacecraft, I saw the deep spacecraft and the spellcraft for the extraterrestrials I call the tall whites, and for the extraterrestrials who were the Roswell Grays. And I also saw the Norwegians with 24 teeth. However, I didn't see.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to understand what he's saying, and I can't even do it. So I'm gonna turn the volume down. We're gonna talk for a little bit until these guys get off, because that microphone is not good. Sorry. I'm super curious as to why we are getting ready for disclosure. Why it's such a sudden push inside of Congress and inside of like everywhere else, like not just Congress, I guess, but like why all of a sudden all of these people coming out of the woodworks, being whistleblowers. We have Dr. Stephen Greer. We have all these people coming together, and all of a sudden now they're jumping in wanting to talk specifically about UFOs. What is coming? I know me being conspiracy, me on TikTok, there's been a lot of stuff where we're having things. I don't know if you guys have been on TikTok lately, but like you got things coming through the sky. What is her name? Siri is saying things are coming from deep space to Earth. I don't know if you guys have seen that. That's a little bit concerning. So maybe are they prepping us? I'm truly scared to see what's coming. I feel like Congress is in a rush. We know when Dr. Danny Sheehan was talking, he said it's going to be the number one thing they're going to focus on when they get back into Congress after they pick the president and everything. That's freaky that this subject has been pushed all the way to the front of the lines. It makes me feel like something is coming big time. They already have a timeline for disclosure, and that's like 2024, 2025. I think the latest is 2026 or 2027. So like, what are they preparing us for? I'm ready for it. You don't have to bend my arm backwards. Like, I'm a millennial. You know what I mean? The world sucks. Like, if there's gonna be a meteor, like, bring it on. Like, nothing's stopping me with that. But I'm curious. Let me know in the chat what you guys think. Is there a specific reason you think that they're preparing us right now for UAPs? Why we're all coming together as global, like getting together for global disclosure? I love the fact that they've turned this into a global disclosure day, similar to like Earth Day. That's what they said earlier, but I'm really interested to see what comes of this information. Let's see if we can hear him talk.
That's all I have to say.
Sorry for cutting him out, but the audio is just horrendous.
Yeah, thank you, Charles, and thank you, Stan. And we will let you guys go back to the rest of the program, but we have one more thing to say here in Albuquerque. Ready, gang? We want disclosure!
I'm with him.
Thank you, Bertie. By the way, everyone, in addition to everything else, Bertie Jaworski is a very sophisticated remote viewer with extraterrestrials. And as part of the training program that New Paradigm Institute and Ubiquity University have developed as part of a master's and PhD degree in extraterrestrial studies. Bertie's going to be hosting and teaching a course on how we can learn remote viewing with a specific intent of intelligible communication with extraterrestrials in January. We'll be promoting that course. I believe it's very important that all of us learn this particular aspect of what I would call the mother tongue. And so we'll be back with more information about this course with Bertie Jaworski in January in due course.
I would love to know how to
We
remote
want to
view.
now go to Helena, Montana, where Richard O'Connor has been gathering a group in the Jesse Marcel Library there. Richard, can you come in?
Yes, hello.
Yeah, you need to turn on your video.
Yeah, hi. Richard O'Connor here in Helena, Montana, talking to you from the Jesse A. Marcel Library. I'm backed up here by a number of friends who have come to join in this watch party. We're Montana's chapter of the New Paradigm Institute's Citizens for Disclosure. And we have 52 members, and our numbers are growing. We all support full and transparent UFO disclosure from our government. We've been meeting here at the Jesse Marcel Library near Helena since May of 2012, long before the New York Times told us it was okay to believe in UFOs.
That's awesome.
This library is actually a converted garage, but it was established with the blessing of Dr. Jesse Marcel Jr., who, along with his father, we celebrate as being the first two UFO whistleblowers who told the world the truth about what happened at Roswell, New Mexico in July of 1947, when our US military recovered an extraterrestrial spacecraft. Both he, Jesse Marcel Jr., and his father closely inspected and handled those materials. And I met Dr. Marcel here in 1988 when I came to work on the medical staff of St. Peter's Hospital as an anesthesiologist. Dr. Marcel was a surgeon. We worked closely together for over a decade and talked about what happened at Roswell. Because I got to know him well, I became absolutely convinced that his story is real. I have a steadfast conviction that Dr. Marcel was a very honest man of high moral character and would never have lied to me nor to the world about what he saw and handled in Roswell, which was an extraterrestrial, or at least the debris from an extraterrestrial spacecraft.
So it wasn't a balloon.
We know that our government, specifically the Department of Defense, under the executive branch, has been lying to our citizens about what Dr. Marcel and his father saw there at Roswell in 1947. Even though that we have never seen the pieces of that UFO, Dr. Marcel informed us that he did see that material, and we have an unshakable faith that he was an honest man who told the world the truth. So as members of Montana Citizens for UFO Disclosure, we recognize and acknowledge that these lies have gone on for too long. They've been detrimental to the social, scientific, and spiritual progress of our civilization. And with regard to UFOs, the executive branch has been operating way outside the boundaries laid down by our US Constitution for decades. And it is past time that our representatives and in the legislative branch step up and do their duty of oversight of the executive branch with regard to recovered UFOs that stem from a non-human intelligence. So for us, those elected representatives would be John Tester, Steve Daines, Matt Rosendale, and Ryan Zinke. And we're talking to you, gentlemen. When January rolls around, we want you to do your jobs to represent us and get this information out of the Department of Defense and into legislative branch oversight where it belongs. I invite every Montanan to join our Citizens for Disclosure group. The Jesse A. Marcel Library is listed at meetup.com under the heading Montana's Central UFO UAP Information Exchange. Or simply email me at rkojaml@gmail.com. That's rkojaml@gmail.com. And I'll put you on our list as a member of Montana Citizens for Disclosure Group. Even if you live far away from.
Thank you, Richard.
Yeah.
Thank you so
just-
much.
Just finishing
I
up
need
here. Even if you live far away from Helena, we're going to be Zooming our meetings, so you can join us on Zoom. So 1, 2, 3. We are Montana Citizens for Disclosure, and we support all. Right on. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Richard.
Okay.
We want to now go to Toronto, where Victor Vigiani has also assembled a small group, just so we can give everybody a sense of the diversity of people that are supporting. We want to now Citizens for Disclosure. So, Victor Vigiani welcome. Has also assembled a small group.
There's an internet delay on their end, huh?
Victor, you have the recording. You have to turn off the audio.
Are you ready there?
He doesn't stream much.
Yes, we can hear you. Hello.
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Is there anybody there?
Oh, maybe.
Okay. Welcome to Toronto. We've got a bunch of people here. No?
There we go.
Hello, welcome to Toronto. It's Victor Vigiani here. Just want to welcome everybody and thank Danny and his whole crew, Jim and all the rest of the people, the volunteers. No audio?
Oh, we have audio,
I'm
sir.
unmuted.
Oh, for the love of Pete. He's trying
Can you
so
hear me
hard,
okay?
chat.
We can hear you fine. Go ahead.
You're okay.
In any case, I just wanted to say hello from Toronto and make sure that everyone throughout the world is understanding what's going on today. We sincerely hope that however this turns out in the future, we want people to know that in Canada, we are going to be beginning a political action activity here in the city of Toronto. And the people behind me, I've held them captive for the past couple of hours, and they're going to be joining us with that political action. And we want to make sure that everyone understands the big question that we have to force upon our politicians and even people who are not really plugged into this whole issue. We want them to ask themselves one very, very specific question. How long has this been going on, and why don't we know about it?
Mm-hmm.
That is the key question that
Good
confronts
point.
everyone within this issue. So we have a responsibility to inform the indolent, inform the resistors, to understand that they have to ask that one very, very simple question and light the candle that will initiate that question to the rest of the world, as we're seeing today. And we all know there's no sense at all in lighting a candle and hiding it under the basket. So we here in Toronto are asking you, light the candle. Thanks, James.
Well said there.
Thank you, Victor. Thank you so much. Why don't they hear us?
That old man is so sweet.
Georg, you need to mute Victor. We want to take a pause for a moment for everyone to just take.
Well, that was a good pause.
Want to shift focus to a major strategic partnership and alliance that New Paradigm Institute is in the process of negotiation with the Mutual UFO Network.
Mm-hmm.
This has been in discussion for some time with Ron James, who's the director of media and on the board of MUFON. And so he and I have been preparing the presentation for today because radical collaboration, as we're trying to demonstrate through this broadcast with people all over the world and all kinds of organizations and perspectives, is the only way that we're going to succeed in overcoming the obstacles that the national security state and the legacy group and all its forms have put up as they seek to reverse engineer the technology for military and other nefarious purposes. So Ron, I want to invite you to the program. Ron is going to make a statement from the perspective of MUFON, and then we'll proceed with our broadcast. Ron?
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
There we go.
I'd like to thank Jim and Danny and all of the other people at New Paradigm. I'm Ron James, and I'm the Media Relations Director for MUFON, which is the Mutual UFO Network. And I wanted to give a little update real quick about what MUFON's been able to accomplish in the last few years. We are the world's largest and oldest organization studying the UFO topic. We have boots on the ground in dozens of countries where we actually do active UFO investigations from reports. And our membership is now at an all-time high, approaching 8,000 active members worldwide. We contribute to shows like Ancient Aliens and The Unexplained. The proof is out there. As MUFON's Media Relations Director, I actually get to do that kind of stuff. And we have been in Washington, D.C., moving mountains along with other organizations. We've had over 300 meetings with staffers and sitting members of Congress just in the last year and a half.
Wow.
We've been providing the House and Senate intelligence committees with quarterly reports about civilian UAP activity. And we've even had a hand in the wording of some of the legislation that's come forward. I've personally briefed Andre Carson, Tim Burchett, and by the way, his pronunciation of his name, he made me promise to set this straight every time. It's Tim Burchett, not Burchett. So I just want to clear that up.
I say that wrong.
With Ed Markey, Warren Donaldson, all personally. And 2 weeks ago, we met with Kirsten Gillibrand regarding the hearings that are coming up and got a seat at the table for that and possibly doing some other presentations behind closed doors that we hope to share with the public. Now, one of the things that's been rampant in the UFO community is factions and groups, but it is time that we just don't have that anymore. The ball is moving down the field. We have to aim high. We have to figure out ways that we can cooperate, ways that we can work together, and ways that we can be better at achieving disclosure. Because at the end of the day, we're this close. We're still a long way away. So MUFON and New Paradigm Institute, and I've known Danny Sheehan and Steve Bassett for years and years. I helped him produce the Citizen Hearing on Disclosure. They're in my documentary Accidental Truth and the new one that's coming up. We are in negotiations to take all of MUFON's resources and the resources of New Paradigm Institute and find ways to work together as a team to broaden the whole effort toward disclosure. And it's a pretty big deal. We're still negotiating the details, but we hope we can set an example for the entire community that it is time for us to put aside any differences and all work together, because this is the biggest question facing humanity. And we are the people who are here to help get it answered. And what better honor could you ask for? Really. One last thing, we're working on a campaign to appeal to whistleblowers. These are all people with feelings that have been brought into something that they might not have asked for. And we're hoping that we can put out a video campaign that kind of encourages these people to come forward and talk to us on a personal level. And so this is a sample of one of the videos that I've created for this campaign. I think Jim said they're going to play it now. And again, I'd like to thank everybody, and let's all move forward in unity for disclosure.
One day, you picked up a call. Since then, you have seen things that change the way you view your world, your concept of reality, your personal sense of self and identity. Long ago, a group was formed to manage the issue, and so began the biggest deception in human history. But you don't have to keep being a part of it. You were read into something you never asked for, didn't ask to know, and have no control over. And you can never tell anyone what you have been shown. We can help you. It's time to blow the whistle.
I was so confused there, dude. I thought that was legit at first, and I was like, no, that's AI. That was confusing the heck out of me.
Thank you, Ron, for both your leadership with MUFON to help negotiate this strategic alliance. And thank you for the gift of this video. Whistleblower protection and whistleblower courage is essential for the disclosure we all seek. And I want to just take a moment to just underscore the importance of this strategic partnership. As Ron said, MUFON has been for 60 years now training people to go. I want to just to go out and investigate all the sightings that are reported about UFO landings or ET contact in a variety of forms. And they've really developed worldwide now a cadre of people that do this at highly sophisticated scientific research levels. What New Paradigm Institute has initiated much more recently is a network, a global network of citizens. So just imagine for citizen activists in our Citizens for Disclosure groups around the country and around the world, teaming up with MUFON researchers and going out and investigating what's taking place and what's been reported. And then conversely, the researchers in MUFON to join the Citizens for Disclosure groups so that the scientific research and the citizen activism come together in a very dynamic way. We believe that this will further the movement. It is our hope that this strategic alliance will become an attractor for other organizations to join in, so that over time, the global movement and the global coalition becomes a single interactive organism as different organizations all maintaining their autonomy, but sharing information, working together on various strategic initiatives, and interacting together collegially as a single movement. That's what we're hoping to begin to exemplify with MUFON, and that's what we hope over time we can begin to manifest in the kind of ways that we all know will be required to make disclosure fully happen. And so we want to turn now to a number of the partners with which we've been working over the last year or two organizations that are doing really interesting and extraordinary work. I want to ask that they all keep their remarks very brief because we're beginning to run over time. And we want to start with Steve Bassett, who is the founder of the Paradigm Research Institute. He is also one of the co-founders of the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance. He was the first one to register actually as a formal official lobbyist here in Washington. So Steve, very good to know you as a colleague, and just turn the program now over to you for your report.
Thanks, Jim. Yeah, I planted that flag 28 years ago. Well, more has happened in the last 7 years than in the previous 70 rather. The truth embargo, as I like to call it, is in fact collapsing. Every witness, and in some cases whistleblower, that comes forward makes it easier for other witnesses to come forward. Every politician, political figure, whether in office or not in office, that comes forward, like Congressman Burchett, makes it easier for other politicians to come forward. Every scientist of accomplishments such as Dr. Gary Nolan makes it easier for other scientists who are generally very risk averse to come forward. So what we have now is an avalanche. It cannot be stopped. It cannot be reversed. All right. It can be slowed down a little bit. The Department of Defense is kind of doing that right now. I hope it's just temporary. It won't succeed. And I also want to do a quick shout out to the thousands and thousands of people going back to the 1940s that devoted a great deal, and some of them, many of them are not with us, obviously. They devoted a great deal of their life with limited means to engage this issue against a highly intransigent government in a highly stigmatized environment, and keep this going and build the platform on which the heroes that I'm watching today are going to stand and take this issue home. And lastly, I'm quite convinced that the New Paradigm Institute, with its alliances, is in fact the leader of this movement, and it's going to lead us into the post-disclosure world. And I am happy to help it in any way possible to achieve those goals. And I hope that everyone watching today will do the same.
So ready for post-disclosure. Please.
Thank you, Steve. Thank
My
you
pleasure.
very much. It's an honor to be working with you. And now we want to go out to the West Coast to Ron Janix and the initiative Contact in the Desert. Each year, the Contact in the Desert conference is the largest gathering of people interested in this domain.
Yeah, I want to do
That's
that.
convened. And they have been working with the New Paradigm Institute. Danny and Sarah have been speakers there. Danny for many, many years. So Ron, it's a pleasure to have you join us today, and tell us more about what you're up to out there.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jim. Appreciate it. Yes, I am coming in from Los Angeles, California, and we're thrilled to be part of this Global Disclosure Day today. And I love hearing these groups cheering. It's wonderful. You have them all together. I think that's a lot of fun and adds to the environment today. We do run the largest UFO conference in the country, which is called Contact in the Desert. And I saw our banner there behind Danny, which was a lot of fun. Basically, Gordon and I want to provide a forum and any support that we can for the disclosure movement. Contact's a great opportunity annually to bring everybody together that's in this community to talk about these issues in an open forum. We've made progress over the years, and we've seen that since the very first Contact in the Desert. And now, thanks to the efforts by many people in this community, many people on this show today, it's time for the public to press forward. Like Don said, I think it's really important. We want to get some of these witnesses out there while they're still with us. It's important to act now. And we really just want to add support to the tireless efforts from people like Steve Bassett, who remarkably kept that short today. I was pleasantly surprised. Steve's got a lot of incredible knowledge in this topic, and he's done probably more for this topic than anyone other than perhaps Danny. And also Sarah Nelson and the entire NPI team who are obviously leading the charge in this area. And I just want to support all of them and appreciate their efforts. You know, everyone out there who comes forward, you're adding the weight of evidence and support for moving disclosure forward. The cumulative weight of all of these different witnesses can and will make a difference, and it will help force Congress to act. So we really appreciate everyone's help and support for the New Paradigm Institute, and we're here in any way we can help. So everyone, please join in and continue supporting this group. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you very much. And again, accolades to you and Contact in the Desert. It's one of the great achievements that, in spite of all the obstacles and the cover-up and everything else, thousands of people each year go to your conference. So we want to really
Definitely have
applaud
to do that.
effort. It's been fundamentally important in keeping the spirit alive and the word circulating out there. So thank you.
Absolutely.
I want to stay in LA for a while with Lester Nair, who's the founder of UAP Caucus. Lester has been on the Hill here in Washington with various others, including Kevin Wright and the NPI folks lobbying in Congress and trying to push disclosure along. So Lester, tell us about the UAP Caucus.
Thanks so much, Jim. And hello,
There he
everybody.
is.
My name is Lester Nara, and I'm excited to be here representing the civilian UAP Caucus as a member of what I'll call sort of the new generation around this issue. At UAP Caucus, our mission is much like many of us here today. It's to bring together diverse perspectives from science, policy, and the public to drive an informed dialogue about UAP, specifically in and around Capitol Hill, as Jim just mentioned. This conversation is about transparency, it's curiosity, and our collective future, and it's more important now than ever.
Do you guys follow him on TikTok?
As a Zimbabwean American, my connection to this work feels deeply personal. I remember stories of the Ariel School, like Colonel Carl Nell brought up at the beginning of the call, where children in Zimbabwe experience something that they cannot easily explain, something that years later still resonates deeply with those who witnessed it. And this was something that happened just 30 minutes outside of our capital city in a country of 16 million people. It reminds us that encounters with the unknown are not bound by borders or backgrounds. They belong to all of us, and they call us for a responsible and thoughtful response. I think today we find ourselves in a crucial moment. We don't have all the answers, and at UAP Caucus, we don't claim to, but we do know that pushing forward with curiosity, integrity, and unwavering commitment to transparency is how we can begin to understand what's before us. For me, I think the Ariel School case shows that these questions span generations and geographies. And it's a moment like this here at Global Disclosure Day that show that people across the world are ready for that open conversation. I just thank you to everyone here today for, the dedication to that vision and for being a part of the movement. And it isn't sort of about proving what we know, but about embracing the possibilities of what we've yet to learn together. So I'm super excited to continue the work we're doing at UAP Caucus, interfacing with staffers and members in Congress to push forward with disclosure.
Thanks so much, Lester. You're doing great work, man. You're really out there in Washington. And
If you guys aren't subscribed to him on
joined in
or
Washington
TikTok,
by
you
Nick
should
Gold of Declassify UAP, who's been also very, very actively engaged. Nick, tell us about your organization and what you're up to.
Jim, thanks so much for having me. It's a real pleasure to be with everyone for the inaugural Global Disclosure Day. So I started declassifyuap.org a little over a year ago. So US voters would have a very grounded, very easy, very quick to use website that allowed them to engage with their own elected officials as their constituents in order to push for government UAP transparency and declassification. So even if you've already participated in the electronic campaign at declassifyuap.org, just go to the Action Center. I encourage you to do it again because there's a very timely update that we've actually inserted into an updated campaign. It was the release of this document about 10 days ago in response to a Black Vault Freedom of Information Act request. This is a UAP Task Force UAP Intelligence Assessment briefing document. It was actually prepared by Jay Stratton, and the classification level itself is classified. Now, there's a little bit of information about the program. Most of the pages of the presentation look like this, completely blacked out. We can't have it. But there is one very interesting page. It's the current assessment, and what you can see in the upper right there is that they have 3 things that they think highly anomalous UAP might represent. Only one of them is unredacted, which is unknown weather or other natural phenomena. The old standby. Well, the last page of the presentation includes this. Questions? I have many questions. We all have many questions. But I want to emphasize how useful a document like this can be in all of our activism. It's very, very rare we get a tangible, physical UAP intelligence assessment document declassified to any degree. It hasn't really happened in my lifetime, frankly. And we can use this document. We can let our elected officials know about its existence. You might be the first person to tell them about it. And we can say, this is a tangible thing, especially the top things we think these outlier UAP might represent are classified. We live in the world with UAP too. We can use this document to our advantage tactically. I encourage everyone to familiarize themselves with it. Again, it's at the Black Vaults website. It's the UAP Task Force Intelligence Assessment. And let's use this. It's a low-hanging fruit. It doesn't really come on a silver platter like this very often. So I hope we can all move forward. And these types of tactical moves are very useful as we push forward to official government UAP declassification.
The government's okay telling us it's weather
Thank
phenomenon,
you,
so we know it's not.
So much, Nick. Nick is really in the trenches, trying to extract the classified information and the secret information that is being held. So I think that's another aspect of what it is that we need to be supporting as we move forward into disclosure. There's many fronts to this struggle for disclosure. We want to now transition over to Portugal for someone I've gotten to know over the last year or so, Francisco Correa, who's been very active there in Portugal at many levels of the government and the military about disclosure. So Francisco, take a minute or two and tell us what you're up to.
Well, thank you, Jim. Are you seeing me? I don't see me.
Yes, we see you. Go ahead.
Yes. Okay. Perfect. Yeah. So basically, thank you for the Paradigm New Paradigm Institute and you, Jim, which I have the pleasure to meet here in Portugal and Lisbon in late September. Here in Portugal, I'm a member of the Transdisciplinary Center for Consciousness Studies, which has a team that has been dealing with UFOs since the 70s and has a big, huge archive, the biggest in Portugal, of course. We also have Stellar, which is the International Observatory for Unusual Phenomena, and has the team is composed by academics from different fields of research, from different universities here in Portugal as well, from historians, astrophysicists, mathematicians, anthropologists, psychiatrists, etc. And I can tell you also that ICER, the International Coalition for Extraterrestrial Research, was registered as an organization, an NGO here in Portugal. We have members from 30 countries. We have the most known project that we have is Project Titan, which tries to involve the UN, to the United Nations in regard to UAPs. We have been working with that since 2021, and we need all the support from everyone in the world to make this happen. And basically, we have just to very quickly, we have big challenges. Not only the stigma, but also the fact that Europe is a lot more conservative in terms of approaching the phenomena than the US or Latin America, for instance.
That's
and so the way that we try to engage with politicians and the military, and Portugal has very good cases involving, for instance, 2 former chiefs of staff of the Air Force, where when a period when the military was less dependent from the political, it was possible to have a good relationship with civilian researchers. So lots of challenges ahead, of course, and we need to start working together with different organizations, different approaches, because we are not all, we don't all face the same issues, especially in regard to dealing with politicians priority management is a very challenging issue for us. And so we need to basically work all together to find solutions for this. It's my take, and I hope and I wish all the best to the New Paradigm Institute. Thank you.
I would not have guessed that other countries were more
Thank you,
sealed up than the
Francisco.
US.
All
Like
strength
we
to
tiptoe
you.
around pretty good unless
There
you're
in
whistleblower.
Portugal, the European situation is very different than it is here in the United States. They have many challenges like we do, but they're working very, very diligently to make sure this happens. We want to now go to San Francisco to Costa Macrius, who has a podcast, ET Let's Talk. Costa, give us a few words on your podcast.
Hi, Jim. Thank you so much for including me on the Global Disclosure Day here. This is really exciting. We're thrilled. And for those of you that don't know me, I'm Costa Macrius, and I'm the founder in 2010, now we're going on 15 years, of etletstalk.com and the People's Disclosure Movement.
A lot, my friend.
So you might ask, what's the People's Disclosure Movement, and is that different from the Citizens for Disclosure? That's a good question. The People's Disclosure Movement is the largest umbrella that I know of. It's in this field so far, which involves, I believe, from what I've counted, more than 1 million people who are focused on the issue of human-initiated interactive contact with the star civilizations that are visiting on and near the Earth. Many people know this as CE5, which is Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. And our group of more than 1 million people, all walks of life, for many years, we've been meeting daily, monthly, weekly. People have been having experiences where many of us are experiencers, myself included. And we have brought about what's called a People's Disclosure. We talked to our star friends, and they informed us that in 2019, because of our efforts, so many of us across the globe, that we're initiating contact with these beings who were asking for us to kind of willingly come forward and establish a halfway meeting point. Because of all that activity we've done all these years, we were informed that in 2019, we did achieve a People's Disclosure, and our star friends described that as a tipping point after which no kind of really massive cover-up would ever again sustain and have any oxygen, be viable. And that's why we endorse what Citizens for Disclosure is doing. I see this as two tracks in parallel, working together as one mission. Citizens for Disclosure, like us, at the People's Disclosure Movement, is working from the grassroots up, using people power in the Citizens for Disclosure manner to work through the channels of government. All of you have been hearing about that from different people here, and this is a wonderful effort. We at the People's Disclosure Movement wholeheartedly endorse what Citizens for Disclosure is doing and offer ourselves in any way that we can to help with that mission of forcing the grassroots pressure up through governments, not just the US government, to make the disclosure possible through those channels. Very viable and very needed. And on the other hand, as I mentioned, we the people have achieved a disclosure because there's so many of us now all over the world who have been experiencers, who have seen, who have taken video, who have taken pictures, who have communicated in many different ways with our star friends, that this particular disclosure is really what is something that we've been able to accomplish. And that's why we now support the efforts of doing this through government. As long as it's grassroots and rising up from the bottom, and this is wonderful how it's all happening. So I'm urging people who's listening here and watching on Global Disclosure Day to please help Citizens for Disclosure. And you can also come and join us at ET Let's Talk and the People's Disclosure Movement. That's etletstalk.com, ETLETSTALK. We will teach you how to make your contact to do the CE5 protocols. And we will
welcome you into the community of all the other experiencers across the planet that are now actively cooperating with our star friends to bring about what we know is going to be a golden age on Earth. It's not going to happen overnight. There's still a lot of work to do, but Global Disclosure Day today is a great step towards getting so many of us together to work towards a golden age of Earth, where we can really have the peace and prosperity that human beings were always meant to have. So we're standing, I believe, at this incredible crossroads of history. We're becoming cosmic humanity, and it's really in our hands now to create the future. And what I want to leave you with is a message that was given to me by my star friends for all of us. And I quote, they said, "Keep your eyes and heart on us." They want to help. They're here to help. They have technologies. We need to meet them halfway. And in the People's Disclosure Movement, that's exactly what we're doing. And again, I want to say thank you for having us as a part here of Global Disclosure Day. Let's go, team. Let's go do this. And we have the future in our hands. Thanks, everyone.
So one thing I want to say too is that there's been so many different locations for people to jump in and help, whether that just be, you know, signing a form, calling into your local government, having them, you know, telling them that you want to be a part of this UAP or that they need to focus on UAP. One thing that I try to do is to keep everybody up to date with videos, and that way you guys all know that, you know, we got stuff going on in the news and everything. They're not showing this on your regular Fox or CNN channels or anything like that. Then the regular news stations don't want anything to do with this. And it's really sad because it is a big topic. So I try to make sure that you guys can come to my channels, whether it's my TikTok channel, Stop In or Drop In Dilbop, whether it's my Facebook channel, which is Stop In or Drop In, all one word, or my YouTube channel. You guys at least have a place to go where we can all come together and get deeper into these stories. And I try to keep you guys up to date with all of the latest information that's dropping. So that's I try. So hopefully you guys enjoy that. Let's continue on.
Thank you, Costa. Thank you very much for what you do. Communicating with the extraterrestrials is really the wave of the future for humanity. And how we do it, what protocols that we keep in place to ensure human sovereignty as we interface with advanced civilizations and advanced beings is really a matter that is going to require very deep reflection and dialogue among the human species as we move forward. So thank you for that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We know we've gone significantly over time, everyone, but thank you for your patience. We now are going to begin our final segment by going again to different parts around the world where some of our Citizens for Disclosure groups are active. We want to begin with a gift that came from Matt Reedy, one of our citizens activists who prepared a song that he just did on his own creative genius, and he's sent us a song for Global Disclosure Day. We're going to play the song, and then we're going to hear from the final group of people as we celebrate Global Disclosure.
On October 20th, truth will rise across the globe beneath the skies. Citizens unite from every land in the search for answers hand in hand. Watch parties light up every state. The world is ready, we won't wait. UAPs and mysteries untold. Together we'll be brave and bold. Global Disclosure Day, let the truth be known. We waited far too long, now the seeds are sown. From the stars above to the depths below, it's time to reveal what we've always known. On Global Disclosure Day, we stand as one. The light of the truth has just begun. Across his steady gaze unveils the secrets lost in haze. Lou Elizondo from the depths of the sky shares the stories that make us question why. Daniel Sheehan with the law in his hands leads us forward to understand. Rich Hoffman guiding through the night. Together we'll uncover the light. Global Disclosure Day.
I'm all right with that one.
We waited far too long. Now the seeds are sown. From the stars above to the depths below. It's time to reveal what we've always known. On Global Disclosure Day, we stand as one. The light of the truth has just begun. Let's climb with thinkers and dreamers unite.
I'm really interested to see where this goes. Global Disclosure Day has been really good for the most part. I think Danny Sheehan really came out with swinging, and he came out with the most information out of the day. What do you guys think in the chat, guys? Let me know. I think Danny Sheehan definitely dropped the biggest bombshells of the day, in my opinion. It's been very interesting to see it, for sure. Yeah, I think it's been pretty good overall. What do you guys think? Did you guys enjoy Global Disclosure Day? Did you think it was going to be like this? Did you have different expectations of Global Disclosure Day? Let me know in the chat. Super curious. Either way, you guys definitely stuck around with me for a long time, and I appreciate all of you guys for sticking around with me and watching Global Disclosure Day. This is number one, with could be who knows how many more.
Global Disclosure Day is the spark. Thank you, Matt, for that extraordinary gift for our inspiration today. The overall meta theme of Global Disclosure Day is citizen activism. And that's one reason why we've taken the time to go around the world and listen from all points of view and different vectors of activity. And one of the common strands between all the speakers so far is that they're all actively engaged in some form of disclosure. And the point that we're seeking to make is that there's not just one way. All of us, in whatever way wakes us up at 3 o'clock in the morning and grabs the passion of our heart, must be involved in this movement of the human spirit. So as we come to our final segment, everyone, I really want to pay tribute to those citizen activists who've come together for our Citizens for Disclosure movement. We started it in the United States, but it very quickly went worldwide. We've seen with Katie Amron and Bertie Jaworski and Richard O'Connor and Victor Viggiani, some of the CFD groups that have been in North America. And so we want to start by going to Hong Kong, where Ryan Berkey, out of nowhere, joined our Citizens for Disclosure. I've gotten to know Ryan. He's an extraordinary human being. He's getting up right now. I think, Ryan, it must be 3 o'clock in the morning, Hong Kong time, which doubles our acknowledgement of your fortitude on this day of disclosure. But just tell us for a minute or two what's going on in Hong Kong. And thank you for everything that you're doing.
Thank you, Jim. Yes, hello from Hong Kong. It's 3:30 a.m. So early morning, but from the future, as it's already Monday here. I just want to go through a quick history because I think China doesn't get mentioned much in these discussions, and for even people that are looking at sometimes an unknown. But you can go all the way back to the 50s, and you'll see the flyby in the day that the Earth stood still, that 1951 film, where radar operators gather around in Hong Kong tracking this UAP flying faster than could be imagined. In the 70s and 80s, there was an opening by the government. In 1978, in their bulletin, they published UFO, an unknown world puzzle. And these decades saw encounters with Chinese students, Air Force pilots, scientists, all walks of life. By the 90s, They began to form study and report on encounters. They formed groups such as VIEW URO, the Beijing UFO Research Organization, and then into the new century, China worked and backed the Five Continents Forum with the UN. Even today, and here in Hong Kong, people seek contact and truth of the reality of the experience of UAP. Stan Ho runs the Orbs Research Bioconsciousness Study, and we have Citizens for Disclosure right here in HK. So I'd say especially today, we continue to expand disclosure to people worldwide. We continue to be a global crossroads for East and West. We focus on science, finance, media, and we're working with you in Hong Kong and China to peacefully know our universal neighbors. So thanks, Jim, for having me. Great to be here.
Thanks so much, Ryan. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be building this global coalition with people like you in diverse parts of this world. We're now going to go from Hong Kong to Los Angeles, where Mark Cruson has been very active in setting up CFD, Citizens for Disclosure SoCal. Mark, tell us what's happening in LA.
Hey, Jim. Thank you so much for letting us join. It's been an honor and a pleasure. I guess you all can hear us. It's been an honor and a pleasure to be welcomed to the movement. Here in SoCal, we just want to let you know that we have watch parties going in San Diego, Orange County, downtown LA, which is here with the three of us, in Glendale and in Burbank. As far as SoCal's Citizens for Disclosure group, we're meeting weekly to get things started and going with the group. We have 3 different sets of social media sets going. One of them is done by Diego, or 2 of them are done by Diego. Another one is
The
done
cat
by
in the background. It's the cat for
Leo
me.
is kind of our silent partner in chief. We also have study groups going, and our current initiative is working on training citizens to persuasively talk about UFOs and UAP disclosure, to go out into the community and be able to talk about the facts of this, so that when we do go into the community, we'll be able to help be good, well, I guess. Anyway, I'm blathering. So thank you, and we're very excited to be part of this movement and to carry the ball forward here in Los Angeles. And we're looking forward also to partnering with all of the other groups here, such as the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance and people here in the LA area. So thank you so much, and we're looking forward to the future. Thanks.
Thank you, Mark. You're doing great work. Mark has been one of the foundational members of Citizens for Disclosure in North America. So really appreciate everything that Mark is doing. We want to now go to India, to Sabir Hussain.
Chad, I'd like to know where you guys are all located.
Sabir, we know
Like
it's
where's everybody at watching this?
So why don't you take a few
Minnesota
minutes
here.
and tell us what's happening there in India. You need to unmute.
Jim, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Good day to you. Vanakkam. I am Sabir Hussain, Director of Indian Society for UFO Studies. Extraordinary UFO events have been happening in India, like rest of the world. UFOs have been seen near nuclear reactors and military bases. In 2019, I gave a 140-page petition to the Supreme Court of India, asking them to take necessary precautions to avoid an accidental India-Pakistan nuclear war due to misidentification of UFOs. Louis Elizondo, Captain Robert Salas, Dr. Kutov, Dr. Velasco, General Bermudez, Hazeltine, and Commander Chamorro all wrote to the Supreme Court of India. But the Supreme Court did not give me a proper hearing. And then we approached the media. They also were very indifferent, like rest of the world. But last year, something extraordinary happened. When David Grush gave his testimony in the American Congress, on the same day, a retired top police officer saw a UFO outside Chennai and he took some photos. He didn't know what to make of it. So he approached me and asked me to authenticate it. I saw it. I consulted Captain Robert Salas, and it was genuine UFO. And that opened the floodgates. And immediately all the channels and newspapers and YouTube TV channels approached me. So far, I've given more than 30 interviews seen by more than 20 million people, Tamil-speaking people. Okay? India is a nation of 1,400 million, out of which 75 million speak Tamil, and 20 million of them have seen it. And the most important aspect is every week, at least 3 to 4 people through WhatsApp, they connect with me and send me videos. UFO sightings is happening all over the country, all over the world, all over my state of Tamil Nadu. Something extraordinary is going to happen here. That I can say for sure. And I also approached a member of the Indian Parliament, Dr. Tirumavaluvan. He started as a skeptic, but later I gave him all the evidence and he said he will support me, and we have given a report to the Speaker of the Indian Parliament. Now we have approached the state government and we have prepared a book, an introduction book for students from school and college level. For the first time, we are introducing this as a subject, a reference subject. Okay? I can tell you one thing for sure. Disclosure is coming. The book of Ecclesiastes in the Old Testament says, for everything there is a time and a season for every purpose under the heaven. A time to sow, a time to reap. The time for UFO secrecy is over. This is the time for UFO disclosure. Whether you like it or not, whether you are prepared to acknowledge it or not, UFO disclosure will happen. As the great man Lincoln said, you can fool some people all the time, but not all the people all the time. Okay? I like to thank
Legit statement.
Jim, Danny, and everybody else for giving me this opportunity to share my views. Thank you. Vanakkam.
Thank you, Sabir. Namaste to you. You're doing great work, and I look forward to deepening our dialogue and our collaboration over the next several months. And now we want to move to Ireland, to Dublin, where Chris Gapp has been working very, very diligently as well on UAP disclosure. Chris, tell us what you folks are up to.
Hi, Jim. Thank you for having me on today. Okay, I'm Chris Gaffney. I'm the Deputy Representative for ISA here in Ireland, the founder of Project Morrigan and NHI Disclosure. Now, officially, there's very little to see or very little known in Europe or Ireland regarding UAP at an official level. However, this is not the case, and we have the documents to prove it. We'll be putting them up on the UAP Ireland website in the very near future. I also want to talk about Project Morrigan and why it's significant. Project Morrigan is proposals to the Irish Parliament for the creation of scientific institutions dedicated to the study of UAP as a potential solution to the energy crisis. In other words, UAP modus operandi as a possible energy solution, green energy. Now, we had a major breakthrough on the 17th of November 2022 when the Oireachtas Parliamentary Committee in Ireland accepted Project Morrigan. Now, if we're correct, this is the first time in the world a government committee has acknowledged the study of UAP propulsion as a possible fossil fuel alternative. Now, plans are afoot to take this to the next level. We want to bring Project Morrigan on St. Patrick's Day next year to Capitol Hill to, I suppose, to present it to the Irish diaspora and other interested parties. The reason we want to go to Washington is to demonstrate to the Pentagon they do not have the franchise on disclosure. We do. And everyone watching in today and listening today around the world, we're not passengers in this process. We're actually participants. So if you want to know more what we're doing in Ireland, you can check out the work by my ISA colleague, Dr. Eamon Lansbury, or maybe even better still, go onto the UAP Ireland website. So I'll finish with a quote from JFK. One man can make a difference and everyone should try. And that's what we're doing in Ireland. So a little quote from Ireland now. Chuck your Nocta, our disclosure day on the phone. Thank you, and back over to you, Jim.
Thank you, Chris. All strength to the Irish. If just the Irish network in the US and Ireland would get activated around this, the world would turn. So thank you for what you're what you're doing there. And there's many others in Europe, everyone, that are actively engaged, but we had to make some selections. So we're just doing a very brief, this is just the tip of the iceberg of all the people that are engaging in activism in one way or another around this beautiful planet of ours. We want to conclude our round the world view of these matters with Latin America. There's an extraordinary amount of activity in Latin America. So we're going to go to Brazil. We're going to have two speakers from Brazil.
Brazil is interesting. That's
Tiago Chidi, first to speak. So Tiago, tell us what you're up to there in Brazil.
Hello, Jim. Greetings from Brazil to the whole world. Thanks for the invitation. Well, I'm Thiago Chiquete. I'm the editor of the Revista UFO magazine, national director of MUFON in Brazil, member of the ICER and SU, and also international director of the Brazilian Commission of Ufologists. Well, in 2004, the Brazilian Commission of Ufologists, with support of the Revista UFO magazine, launched the campaign UFOs, Freedom of Information Now. Since then, thousands of secret documents from the Brazilian government and mainly from the Brazilian Air Force have been released to the public and are available at the National Archives in Brasilia and online. Brazilian ufology is one of the most respected in the world. Some of the most famous cases of all time occurred here. Although Brazil has never invested in a program to identify, research, and understand the UFO phenomenon, we had military personnel involved in investigating cases in the past. And with this, they have produced documents, photos, and videos. One of the greatest examples of this was the operation known as Operation Plate, when unknown lights and aircrafts attacked residents, people of several cities in the north and northeast of Brazil, such Colares. Through one of the greatest icons of national ufology, A.J. Guevara, the world of ufology became aware of these documents, photos, and testimonies that were previously secret. These documents prove that the extraterrestrial intelligence act in the region in 1977 and 1978. And through the campaign UFO Freedom of Information Now, UFO magazine, and the Brazilian Commission of Ufologists, we continue this arduous battle within the laws against the secrecy of the evidence we have that they are being visited by extraterrestrial beings. My father was a Brazilian air pilot, lieutenant colonel, and he showed me 2 boxes of documents, secret documents. And one of these files, I saw a photo of a perfect flying disc. This photo, among a lot of other photos, videos, where are the 22 hours videos of the Operation Plate in Pará during the Operation Plate mission. So what I saw with my father, I never saw released again. So we're still looking for and battle for the disclosure here in Brazil.
Never heard of Operation Plate.
We can achieve this goal. Thank you very much, Jim.
Thank you, Tiago, for all the work that you're doing. I love the ETs in the background there. You're clearly deeply engaged with this phenomenon. So we want to now go to Dr. Julio Navarro, also in Brazil, who has been also very active with Tiago and others in supporting disclosure. Julio?
Thank you, Jim. Let me to introduce myself. I am Dr. Acosta Navarro, Director of the Latin America Academy of Scientific Ufology and Professor of the University of Sao Paulo. I would like to congratulate and celebrate the global discovery day, and also to say that there are also other ways to work toward a better approximation of the reality of the phenomenon of extraterrestrial contact. Previously, I will to put 3 points for you. First, since its origin more than 10 years ago, our organization has as its objective and principle that ufology has already become a science. In this sense of research have resulted in 4 scientific articles published in peer-reviewed journals. The Final Contact Project published in 2016 landmark study and later the Epimetheus Project investigating alleged contacts since close encounter of the fifth kind and using an original method to establish their authenticity proved for the first time the hypothesis that in some case could be considered an authentic phenomenon of advancing content with scientific information flow passing to contactees. I asked if this could be a beginning of a way of technology transfer. Secondly, other activism projects such as the Hercules Project resulted in another historical milestone in world ufology, as was the official recognition by the Minister of Labor of the Brazilian government of Presidente Lula. At the seat of Brazilian government that day.
After this, man,
I'm trying to share my screen.
they continue, but I am not going to continue. We're going to stop there as it's been 3 hours and this was supposed to be a 2-hour long event. And currently we're just jumping around from location, showing essentially that people are paying attention to the UFO phenomenon, which is fantastic. And I know that's what all of us here are doing as well. I want to thank each and every one of you guys for hanging out with me during this time period, during our show. I appreciate you. Sorry, I'm still sick. But thank you so much for hanging out with me on our YouTube channel. I have more content coming. But I do want to say thank you. Thanks to every single one of you guys who hung out with me during this time. I appreciate all of you, and we will see you guys another day.